going on, freaks? Happy Easter to everybody out there. Or hope you had a good Easter, whatever, however you refer to it after. But crazy day for the troops. I mean, that was amazing. See, last night during our show, I was right near the end. I think Lynn sent me an email. It was like, it said that they they rescued the Airman, the second one. So it was like, boom. Then we read the post on Truth Social, etc. And then the rest of the people who weren't awake, they heard about it in the morning. But I think it was like 9 or 10 last night on the show. We got the news. It was like, wow, it was just so amazing. So that was pretty cool. Hey, thank you, Cinnamon Sin Freak. Isn't that a cool name? Especially with the freak at the end. Cinnamon Sin Freak. All right. I don't know if you put freak on there because we're freaks here, or you were just into cinnamon or something. Yeah. I don't know if he's back on U.S. soil. Why does that matter? All right, let's see. I'm just gonna. This is a New York Times article. Just came out. Now this just came out at like I don't know, 8:56. Like so, 5:56. About an hour and 5 minutes ago. Yeah, so let's see what this one says. The title of it is A Harrowing Race Against Time to Find a Downed U.S. Airman in Iran. So it says the two crew members ejected from their fighter jet just seconds after it was hit by Iranian fire. The F-15E Strike Eagle, the first fighter jet lost to enemy fire in the war, crashed violently to the ground. The Air Force officers were deep in hostile territory on Friday. I wish I had the GPS coordinates. Alone and armed only with pistols. The plane's pilot was in constant communication with his unit and rescued about 6 hours later. So he was the pilot, and so he evaded capture for about 6 hours, and he was... and then finally, he was rescued because he was in constant contact. So he's rescued 6 hours later by a force that included attack planes and helicopters that came under heavy fire, military officers said. But the aircraft weapons systems officer, he's actually a colonel, believe it or not, he was still missing. So he was a colonel weapons system officer. In the chaos of the ejection, a violent life-saving maneuver, he had become separated from the pilot. So let's see. In the chaos of the ejection, a violent life-saving maneuver. Right. I mean, I guess they're just telling you what an ejection is. They could be separated for a long ways. So let's say one ejects and then 10 seconds later another one ejects. Well, those planes are going so damn fast that, you could be a mile, away, miles away from the original person who ejected. Yeah, I guess it depends on the direction, like if it was doing did a horseshoe shape. I mean, one would have momentum in another direction, the other in another direction. Don't really know. I don't know. Why would that disappoint you? I think everybody, whenever something happens to a family member, and by the way, Lucy, we're not even talking about Savannah Guthrie right now. If you notice, we're trying to get through this article here. But I don't really care if Savannah Guthrie is questioning her religion, or religion after you have somebody. I mean, can you really explain why a 4-year-old girl is abducted and assaulted and then killed? Wouldn't you question God at that point? Like, Jesus, Why would you let a April Tinsley, for God's sakes? Yeah, that's what people feel like. Okay, when you go, he's got a plan. Really? What was the plan on that one? You know what I mean? Like, what was the plan on April Tinsley being abducted by somebody? All right? It doesn't make sense. So people question those kind of things. I think there's free will out there. So people question that. So when you type in, pretty disappointed to see Savannah, because you're so much better than her. That's the cool part, Lucy. You're 1,000 times better than Savannah is, and therefore you can go ahead and tell everybody how shitty she is. Way to go. Way to, really represent Christianity on Easter. Way to go there. Whew, you're awesome. Anyways, let's get back onto this. The Air Force officer, okay, we're down here. But the aircraft weapons system officer was missing in the chaos of the ejection. A violent, life-saving maneuver. He had become separated from the pilot, setting off a vast search that became the primary focus for the U.S. military troops and CIA officers across the entire theater for 2 days. Let's see. Well, okay, Lucy, we don't do that in here. You came in here, you trashed a victim of a crime because she didn't act the way you wanted to. Okay, nobody's impressed with your comment. There isn't a soul that was impressed by it. Okay, you can say whatever you want, but you gotta, you're gonna get the ramifications of what you say, just like me on my show. Every time I say something, oh my God, and you get these idiots in the comments that get so offended by every little thing, but like, who cares what Savannah said? Okay, it has nothing to do with you. She's a victim of a crime. She's probably feeling really shitty right now. I had the same thoughts after my brother died. I don't know why people, you don't see that. Every single person, when there's a senseless death, thinks the same damn thing, and eventually maybe they come back around to not thinking that anymore. All right? Awesome. Hey, way to go. Way to go. Because what do you mean? But what do you mean? But why? What are you talking about, Bengal Cat Chili? I have no idea what you're talking about. Because Savannah brought that up. Well, what do you mean? But remains silent on the sheriff. She has to put her political views aside. What the hell, man? Jesus. That doesn't even make any sense. Is anybody here, by the way? I'm about ready to just end the show because we're just not getting any comments. There's like zero commenting going on. I like shows where people are actually engaged in talking, but not, blaming victims. We don't do that. I don't know. I mean, it just seems like nobody is in the chat. Am I on the air here? Oh, it looks like it. Hello? Hello? Anybody there? I don't know. I think we're off the air or something. Jesus, that's just unreal, you guys. You guys are just wow. Anyways. Let's go back to this part. But the aircraft weapons system officer was missing in the chaos of the ejection, a violent, life-saving maneuver. He had become separated from the pilot, setting off a vast search that became the primary focus for the U.S. military troops and CIA officers across the entire theater for 2 days. This account of the weapons officer's fight for survival and rescue is based on reviews with about a dozen current and former military and administrative officials who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss the sensitive operation. And by the way, you guys, if you could please help support the channel on here. This is just another night like any other night. It just is what it is. I can't get more than, we get 120 people in here, and boy, that's a great night, because my channel, YouTube has me in some weird algorithmic disaster. I don't know what to tell you. Can't get videos viewed, hardly get anybody on live streams, and we have the best coverage of anybody covering any of the cases right here. Now then subscribe to the channel. It's pretty easy to hit the subscribe button, and don't you think? You hit the subscribe button. Yeah, I don't want people commenting that aren't subscribers to my channel. Okay? That has nothing to do with it, Ann. Here you are again with your stupid... Jesus. Right, Zozo. That's exactly right. She was asked a question, and that's what she said. Let's just... You guys are... people who... that's your first thought when you see something like that? My thought is, man, I'd have the similar thought. I absolutely would think something similar. Where was God? That song Edmund Fitzgerald, the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Does anybody know where the love of God goes? That's what he says in there. When these people were just, in the storm and just got absolutely, just killed tons of people. Shipping ore, And that's what people think, But this was such a cool event. But I need your guys' support on the channel tonight. Thank you. All right, anyways, it's pretty amazing the stuff that they were doing. So they interviewed a whole bunch of different people. Surveillance planes and drones combed the area. I bet you I would have been pretty good on that CIA side. I bet you they were using people looking at satellite and finding a location. That would have been something I'd love to be able to do. This account of the weapons officers' fight for survival and rescue is based on interviews with about a dozen current and former military and administrative officials. Surveillance planes and drones combed the area near where the plane had crashed, but could not find the weapons officers or any signs that he was alive. So they went where the plane crashed, but when you're the plane's going to go way further than somebody who ejects, The military described him as status unknown. See, I thought he was going to be inside the wreckage, and they were just trying to recover him. But man, it was so crazy last night on the show to have that pop in there. The military described him status as unknown. On the ground in Iran, the downed officer's mission boiled down to two words: evasion and survival. And they're trained to do this, these pilots. Surrounded by potential enemies, and he's actually got a severe wound. He hiked up 7,000-foot ridgeline and wedged himself into a crevice. That is just crazy. Where he hoped he would be safe until American forces found him. U.S. Central Command was preparing a statement that the plane had gone down and the pilot had been rescued. But just as they were about to release the statement, about 14 hours after the fighter jet was hit, so let's see, but just as they were about to release the statement, U.S. Central Command was preparing a statement that the plane had gone down and that the pilot had been rescued. But just as they were about to release that statement, about 14 hours after the fighter jet was hit, U.S. officials got a lock on the weapons officer's location via a beacon he was carrying. So I was saying that on the show. Don't they have a beacon or like a thing that shows where they're at? Air Force fighter pilots and weapons officers are equipped with beacons and secure communication devices for coordinating with their rescuers, but they are trained not to signal their location constantly and to restrict use of the beacon, which can be spotted by the enemy, military officials said. Central Command officials immediately scrapped the statement they were preparing to release. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth called President Trump and told him that as long as there was a chance they could find the weapons officers, they needed to keep information about the pilot's rescue secret. And they did. Iran had launched several search parties, one of which had assembled at the base of the mountain where the weapons officer was hiding. Hey, thanks so much, Chris O'Connell. Very kind of you. Thank you so much. Was hiding. For the Iranians, the downed Air Force colonel was a powerful asset they could use as leverage in high-stakes negotiations with the United States. It would have been a disaster, a really difficult situation if they had a hostage, a soldier. For the U.S. military, which lives by the mantra of no man left behind, finding the downed officer was a moral imperative. Battered by the force from his ejection, the weapons officer waited. He knew that both U.S. and Iranian forces were racing to find him. A military official described the weapons officer's signaling as intermittent. I wonder if he got anything back as reassuring anything, something sent back. But yeah, guys, at the beginning of the show, we had the one person support the channel, and then we just had Chris O'Connell. So if the rest of you could help support it, that would be fantastic. We could actually reach a goal with minimal asking. That'd be awesome. One night of that. Let's see. So the military official described the weapons officer's signaling as intermittent. The first task for the military was making sure that the person signaling was the weapons officer and not someone in Iran who had found his equipment. At its campus in Langley, Virginia, the CIA was developing a deception plan. Isn't that cool? To buy the U.S. military and the airmen some time. They spread word in Iran that the airman had been found and was being moved out of the country in a ground convoy. The hope was that Iranians would shift their search from the place where the airman was thought to be and focus instead on the roads out of the region. The CIA operation appeared to cause confusion among the Iranian forces hunting for the airman, according to a senior administration official. The Iranians, however, intensified their search, calling on the public via the state's primary broadcaster to capture the enemy's pilot or pilots and turn them over alive to security forces for a reward. On Saturday morning, Mr. Trump was escalating his threats against Iran, vowing to blow up the country's electrical infrastructure unless its leaders open the Strait of Hormuz to all traffic. Hey, thank you, Sherry Locke. So on Saturday morning, Mr. Trump was escalating his threats against Iran, vowing to blow up the country's electrical infrastructure unless its leaders open the Strait of Hormuz to allow traffic. Time is running out, 48 hours before all hell will rain down on them, Mr. Trump wrote on social media. At that moment, U.S. military officials were in the final stages of preparing a vast and complex rescue mission that involved about 100 special operations forces led by elements of SEAL Team 6 with Delta Force commandos and Army Rangers on standby if needed. Hey, thanks Chris O'Connell again. These pilots are highly trained for... Yep, exactly. And they're actually, they go to school just to learn how to, evade being captured. I mean, my God, 7,000 feet the guy climbed up? Or maybe, the mount where he started was already kind of high, but he got to the top of a 7,000 foot, so maybe he only went up to, had to go 2,000 feet because he was already at 5 or something. It's hard to know. Anyways, right here it says, SEAL Team 6 with Delta Force Commandos and Army Rangers on standby if needed. A far larger conventional force made up of helicopters, surveillance planes, fighters, and aerial tankers was ready to provide support. A U.S. military official said it took hours to get the weapons officer's location and determine that it was him. Military officials, how do you know it's him, Gray? Maybe they found him really quick and then cloned him, and then they put that clone there. You know, they give him plastic surgery to make him look like that guy, Gray. That's the Candace Owens type of brain mentality right there. How do we know? They'll probably say stuff like, hey, how do we know that's really the colonel? They could have caught him early on and did plastic surgery and made a guy look like him and then put him up there. Okay, that's the brain power of, the people who think Kohberger is innocent, the Candace Owens lovers, all the morons out there on social media. Hey, thanks, Wild Bill Wassman. Let's see. Yeah, so it took hours to get the weapons, his location, where he was. Military officials were assisted by the CIA, which used a special piece of technology unique to the agency. Isn't that cool? Like, we don't even know what this is, but to locate the airman hiding in the mountain crevice and confirm his identity. U.S. and I wonder if they use satellite, though, zooming in. U.S. and Israeli officials gathered intelligence to determine if the airman was alone. So it looks like U.S. and Israeli officials gathered intelligence to determine if the airman was alone, surrounded by Iranians, or had been captured. Once they determined the airman was alone, senior military officials waited until dark to launch. Hey, KME, 39 months. Cool. Thank you. Once they determined the airman was alone, senior military officials waited until dark to launch a rescue mission. Special operations helicopters loaded with commandos raced to the remote mountain site where he was waiting, and probably no lights, nothing, probably complete darkness with night vision. A senior U.S. official described the rescue mission as one of the most challenging and complex in the history of U.S. special operations. The commandos had to contend with mountainous terrain, the Iranian forces, and they assumed would rush to attack them, and the injured airman's health, which remained uncertain. As the commandos landed on the objective, U.S. and Israeli warplanes dropped bombs whose bright orange blast lit up the silhouettes of the surrounding mountains. From his hiding place, the weapons officer alerted his rescuers to the areas they should target for strikes. For his hiding place. From his hiding place, so he must have been communicating. That's really kind of detailed, instead of just like clicking a button or something. From his hiding place, the weapons officer alerted his rescuers to the areas they should target for strikes where he could see Iranians advancing, one senior military official said. Thanks, Kami. The commandos fired their weapons ferociously to keep any Iranians in the area from advancing. That's kind of how I was picturing that they quickly went in and whenever they found the location and started securing it with helicopters and special forces on the ground. They fired their weapons ferociously to keep Iranians in the area from advancing towards them, but they did not engage in a firefight with enemy forces. U.S. officials described the territory where the airman was hiding as strongly opposed to the Iranian regime, and said it was unclear how close Iranian forces ever got to the site. That's interesting. He was rushed to a helicopter that whisked him off to Sandy Austere airstrip inside Iran, that Special Operation Forces had previously developed for possible rescues or other contingencies. Wow, so we already have like an air base in Iran. That's funny. The plan was to immediately load the airmen and the rescue force onto 2 C-130 aircraft. Okay, let's see. This is the part I wanted to hear about. Hey, thanks, Joel Burnt. Yeah, we're going to do this for a while and then see what you guys think. But I do have this. I mean, I know. I haven't done one of those cold cases for a little bit, but it's from 1964. It looks kind of interesting. Let's see. The plan was to immediately load the airmen and the rescue force onto 2 C-130 aircraft. Those are huge ships. Well, thanks, Chris O'Connell. At least some people think that. Wow. It's a miracle. Yeah. But in a final, let's see. So he was rushed to that, to a helicopter that whisked him off to sandy, austere airstrip inside Iran that Special Operation Forces had previously developed for possible rescues or other contingencies. See, you know, the people like on CNN, and they were probably quietly, secretly disappointed. I know people get this, they think, great, that's bullshit. No, they are, man. They look for they think that this operation is going terribly. They tell everybody every day. This stuff right here was planned so well. You can't criticize this shit. I mean, it's unbelievable. But they find a way every time. Tune into CNN for an hour or two. You know, it's incredible. They are embarrassing. Now, if Joe Biden had pulled off the exact same thing, they'd be telling everybody how great it was. They'd be, wow, that's incredible. You think Joe Biden, his brain isn't working? Look what they did over there. You know they would do that. And that's what I just hate the most. You know, the hypocrisy, they can't wait for something really bad to happen, but they'll pretend that they're devastated, but they're really so happy because it makes the administration look bad, and that's all they're hoping for. I think it sucks, you know. It really, our country's in a really shitty place like that. You know, the Trump derangement syndrome's a real thing. Actually exists. Okay, the plan was to immediately load the airmen and the rescue force onto 2. You know, I've seen the AC-130 gunship, so I'm assuming it's like the same jet, or you know, it's really kind of a big, bulky. You know, let's see if we can load one up. Yeah, that's exactly what I was picturing. See these right here? They're just really big, you know, and they use them as a gunship. Where I think they have drones that go down and they mark targets, and then the gunship is connected to the drone and then just levels it with these it's just huge ordnance bullets, you know, etc. You know, it's just crazy. But anyways, so this is what I wanted to know more about. The plan was to immediately load the airmen and the rescue force onto 2 C-130 aircraft that were supposed to carry them out of danger to an airfield in Kuwait. So that means from that temporary base that they built, I would think. But in a final twist, the nose gear of at least one and possibly both of those planes got stuck in the sandy dirt. Jeez. At the airstrip, military officials said. Hours passed, efforts to free the stuck wheels failed, so the commandos called in 3 replacement aircraft. Officials in the Pentagon at a central command waited anxiously. The success of a dangerous mission, which had seemed nearly complete, was suddenly once again uncertain. Wow, what a crazy thing to even be thinking about right then. Eventually, the commandos and the injured weapons system operator were reloaded onto 3 newly arrived replacement aircraft. After the rescue team left, American warplanes bombed the 2 disabled planes and 4 MH-6 special operation helicopters rather than let them fall into Iranian hands. So they literally used the helicopters, they got the commandos in there, etc., but they were all going to go out on these jets. And instead of allowing Iran to have the AC or the C-130 planes and the 4 MH-6 helicopters, they blew them to smithereens. That's pretty amazing. Helicopter rather than let them fall into Iranian hands. Then, as the sun was rising, the 3 planes launched in succession from the remote airstrip. The plane carrying the rescued airmen went first, followed by the others. When word reached the White House that the aircraft had cleared Iranian airspace, Mr. Trump announced the mission's success. "We got him," Mr. Trump explained in a social media post a few minutes after midnight in Washington. This brave warrior was behind enemy lines in the treacherous mountains of Iran, being hunted down by our enemies who were getting closer and closer by the hour. The rescued officer had sustained injuries, Mr. Trump wrote, but would be just fine. It sounded like he had pretty bad injuries, though. Yeah, that's right, Sandy. Thank you. Let's see. All right, and then all the commandos were safe and accounted for. Like, there was nobody got injured. I mean, not killed. I mean, there were some injuries, but there were no U.S. casualties. The moment of celebration seemed to pass quickly for Mr. Trump, who on Easter Sunday morning, now they're going to try to get a dig in, Sunday morning returned to the reality of an unpopular war for which he seemed to have no clear exit strategy. The Airman was safe, but the Strait of Hormuz was still in Iranian control, imperiling as much as 20% of the world's oil supply and the global economy. Mr. Trump had tried bullying Americans' allies in Europe and Asia to come to its aid, but this is New York Times, so they got to get this in. They didn't want to sound too positive, so at the end they got to throw this in there. So he treated Iran's leader in an angry, profane social media message saying, "Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, all wrapped up in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it," Mr. Trump wrote. "Open the effing strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch." And he said, "Praise be Allah." I don't know if he was like mocking them or what he was doing. I mean, Allah is just God. It's the same, President Donald J. Trump. That's pretty funny. Oh, man. Hey, thanks, Joel Burnt. If I tell you it's Easter, dye your eggs. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty sweet, man. God. But you listen to CNN. Oh, they don't know what they're doing. Trump's reeling. He's all over the... What do you mean, man? They've lost in one aircraft, and well, 2 aircrafts have been shot down. I guess it was an A-10 Warthog and then this one F-15. It's just unbelievable how low a number that is, even though it sounds shitty. Like, wow, we lost an airplane. We lost 3, I think, early on to friendly fire because we weren't even prepared. We were just flying in the air, and then I don't know if it was Kuwait or whatever, they shot on our own jets accidentally when they weren't, in sort of mode for protecting themselves. Yeah, there's been tons and tons of... let's see what some of these other ones said. Now, let's see. Well, there was a second one by... This is a New York post. Let's see what this one says. Yeah, maybe those are the mountains. Look like that. The tough as nails U.S. Air Force colonel shot down over Iran was seriously wounded, but still climbed a 7,000-foot ridge and hid in a crevice to evade capture for 36 hours, even with bounty hunters on his tail. I wanted to hear about that, the C-130 planes. That makes sense now. The cool as cucumber American hero, who has yet to be publicly identified, spent 1.5 days hiding in the Zagros mountain range and dodging the enemy after his F-15 went down inside the territory. Let's see, the Zagros Mountains. I think I found... Yeah, there, I got them on the screen right there. So they're right over here, so it kind of does match up with this area that they... So I guess you could... You know, it's probably all the way, this whole mountain range up here, going into... I mean, this is the area they originally said, but you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if this is totally bogus, this area here. Because they were using deception. They might have mentioned that, and everyone, oh, okay, inside of there. And they were really over here somewhere. You know, like, who the hell knows? I mean, it's pretty amazing that they put out the little hint, like, okay, we've already got him. We're on a convoy, and then they're looking around, and you know they're lost, and we know exactly where he is the whole time. Despite his injuries, a weapons officer was able to climb more than 1.3 miles and avoid detection from bloodthirsty nearby Iranian fighters, spurred by the chance to capture an American soldier and 60,000 bounty placed on his head. Thousands of these savages were hunting him down, President Trump told Axios of the harrowing situation. The officer was armed with only a handgun. I see. So in this one it says, you know, thousands of savages, but then the New York Times had to say, well, that's a anti-regime area, so we don't really know if any of the people... Yeah, geez, they always have to have something opposite. The officer was armed with only handgun as he awaited rescue, which occurred partly thanks to the emergency beacon he sent out from a crevice along a mountain. Yeah, so let's see, what do they have there? Yeah, that one of those, and then this A-10 over here. Oops. And these are the 130s, and then these helicopters. So all, you know, different type of planes were obviously lost. But it's kind of, isn't it cool? Isn't that a neat feeling, though, to be one of the pilots, knowing the effort that the military will put into retrieving you? That must be a really amazing feeling of hope and faith. Just being like, okay, they're going to... I mean, look at this. They took out 2 C-130 and 4 helicopters to save this pilot. I mean, they did it to them. They blew them up on their own, even. That's crazy. I mean, when I say crazy, in a good way. Yep, no man left behind. But hey, guys, if you're out there and you have the ability to help support the channel, I would appreciate it. We're at about a third, not even a third yet, like 28% of a goal. So that's all I got. I don't have anything else to tell you. Yeah, let's see. I'm gonna maybe just turn that off. So where was that? Over here. See, there's these little blue 360-degree pins that people put out. I think I got to be a little lower. Yeah, not really any in there. Yeah, right in here there's a bunch, though. Yeah, maybe something like that actually is where, you know, a crevice, something very similar to that. Wouldn't that be weird if I randomly like landed on? But all of these things right here, you know, that could be exactly a place like that. It's probably more of a like a crack, you know, something. Where's the 360 degree? There's one down here we could. Yeah, see what it looks like? So, I mean, you could just be in something like this, a crevice, but way up 7,000 feet. Because that's all, you got tons and tons of that stuff. See? Wow. That's wild. Yeah, I think it's pretty much these mountains, though. So nobody heard me. Come on, you guys. We gotta get moving here. We gotta keep having normal nights. Yesterday was the worst night of the month, but it wasn't too off. You know, we made a minimum goal, but we didn't. Wasn't a good night. It was just, you know, didn't even hit the minimum standard. It was just kind of like, okay. But you know, at least last night we weren't covering the. We didn't cover Nancy Guthrie and almost made it. I'm trying to look for these little 360 degree things that they have. Gives you a good look. I don't know. See, that one disappeared. It was a little bit higher out. You could see it. Yeah, he had a pistol on him. That's all he had. What the heck? I feel the worst for the women in Iran. CNN doesn't care about them. It's, you know, doesn't give a shit about that. It's funny how it always is so political, right? Like, how come when you're, you know, especially like in Afghanistan, you would think people would want to get rid of the, you know, the barbarians over there because they treat women so poorly. They can't even go to school. They can't do this. They can't do that. They can't do anything. And Iran's the same way. They hate, and not only that, Iran kills gay people. They're just absolutely abhorrent people. Like, not when I say people, I mean the government. And it's sick, right? So what is bad about trying to get rid of somebody like that? I mean, an entire country of people that are just absolutely treated like garbage. It's like North Korea, but guess what? North Korea has nukes, and that's exactly why you can never do anything about it. And that's what Iran wants nukes for, to protect themselves and have leverage over anybody trying to do what Trump's doing right now. See? Hey, thanks, Chris O'Connell. Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. I got that feeling. Right there. Yeah, that one shot I had a minute ago was pretty good. I like that one. What's this, a cemetery? Wow. Weird. Anyways, what do you guys think about it? This was another New York Times. It's different, but the other one was their updated one, so it was had a lot of information in it that really just kind of answered the questions. No, it's not it's just 360-degree image. We can better image the surrounding and conditions. Yeah, right. That's what I was just showing you. I mean, I'm sure these mountains go the whole way. It's like saying the Cascades. You know, so probably this entire mountain range all the way up like this is considered that, and then maybe sort of ends over here somewhere. So I would think maybe more in this area is where, you know, and that's another, you know, whenever you go to a country and there's no street view, like literal street view, that means it's not a good place. That means Google won't even send people there. I bet you even if you go to Tehran, right up here, they don't have street view. If they do, I'd be shocked. They might. Yeah, they have a little bit over in this area. So I guess they got some sucker in there to. But other than like right here, I was kind of thinking maybe Tehran would, but the rest of the country, you don't have any driving around. It's too dangerous. Thank you, Whiskey Boots. All right, well, I don't really have much more to add other than I'm just really proud of the military and, you know, the leadership for creating and, you know, being creative and figuring out a way to get this guy out of there. And they did it. Yeah, it kind of sucks that, you know, those planes are so heavy, the nose went into the sand there, but you know, you do what you can do, and then they improvised, got some other planes in there, and boom. Yeah, you sent me a link earlier. It's somebody's YouTube. I can't play it. Yeah, I mean, I can't really. I mean, maybe I can play audio or something.
The late 70s, early 80s, the kind of the premier air-to-air aircraft. The F-15E.
So apparently this guy is explaining combat ejections, etc.
Strike Eagle is the multi-role version of the F-15. So a lot of people are familiar with the F-15 Eagle, which is it's been in service since the late 70s, early 80s, the kind of the premier air-to-air aircraft fighter jet in the U.S. Air Force inventory. Back in the 80s, they built the multi-role version of that, which just means it does both air-to-air and air-to-ground. So shoots missiles, drops bombs, pretty much does a lot of everything well.
Tell me about the training that goes with ejecting from a jet like that and how to survive behind enemy lines.
Yeah, so the training for that only goes so far. I mean, we don't practice getting shot out of a perfectly good airplane on a rocket. The best we can do is essentially it's a muscle memory drill. We practice emergency procedures of all sorts during training, and we're 100% proficient as pilots at that constantly. And so the best we can do for ejection seat training is essentially do the muscle memory of getting your body lined up in the ejection seat and pulling the handles. It's incredibly important to get your body lined up because you're taking again a rocket engine straight up your spine, something on the order of 20 Gs. It's kind of like getting in a car wreck, and it's shooting you out of the airplane within less than a second. I like to say that the ejection process it's a compromise between saving your life and killing you. It's an extremely violent thing. Not only are you getting shot out of the airplane on a rocket, but once you get out of the airplane, now you've got something on the order of 300 miles an hour of wind hitting you right in the face. Extremely violent maneuver, and there's not really a lot of preparing for it.
Crazy.
The best you can do is get in a tight body position and pull the handles. And from what I'm told by folks that I know that have ejected, the next thing you know, you're under the chute. It's that fast and that violent.
Pull the handle and cross your fingers, I guess, right? What about when you land? You
exactly.
Yes, I was going to ask about. I was thinking about the landing part because you're in that seat, right? So how do you keep from like you don't get it's not like one of those cool parachutes they have now where you pull down and you basically land like you're a feather hitting the ground.
You find yourself alive, Brian, there behind enemy lines. What about that training? Is it called SEER, or does that apply here?
Yes, sir. It absolutely applies here. Survival, evasion, resistance, and escape is what SEER stands for. We all go through, those of us in the business go through extensive and very, very realistic SEER training. It's the thing in your life that you never want to have to do again, but it's the thing that matters the absolute most when you need it, as we've seen in the last couple of days.
Brian, how would they have likely found him? In those situations, is there some kind of transponder beacon that can lead the rescue team to him?
Yes, there is, and that is extremely sensitive stuff. But at the end of the day, yes, there's a locator beacon that we have in our kit, in our survival vest, and that goes out with you in the jet. And that's how you get found. That's how you get located.
What can you tell us about the likely steps involved in completing this rescue, including the C-130?
Yeah, and based on personal experience, having trained for this, done it in a training environment, and being privy to what's happened over the last couple of days, it's extremely complex. It's extremely dangerous. So going through the steps, so the WISO in particular, the weapons system officer in particular, that we've all been reading about the last couple of days and just was rescued last night, 15 hours ago. He went through all the steps that we just chatted about in SEER training. He hit the ground. He inventoried his gear. And the first thing you're taught to do is run away and hide. By all reports, he actually climbed a 7,000 foot mountain and was up on a peak to evade capture. At that point, he would have activated his emergency beacon that you just alluded to, and from there, we've got sensors, we've got satellites, we've got the whole array of U.S. military power that's going to go look for him and find him. On the C-130 side of that, on the rescue side of that, which I also did earlier in my career, it's all about getting that guy out of there. So what'll happen is you saw.
I think the main goal is to keep them set their ballistic weapons capabilities way back. They were using that as leverage to continue to build, enrich uranium. Then I think trying to find their enriched uranium or keeping them from being able to get it is the next one. And then, regime change would be great if the people would uprise. And then also, I think it'd be great if the United States and other countries controlled the Hormuz Strait. That's what I think. I think that's a huge thing that needs to happen here, is that we need to take over, because we're not going to use it as leverage. We would just control it and make sure it works, is free and clear, where Iran uses it. You can just see what they're doing right now. So I think we need to figure out a way to control it and keep Iran from ever controlling it ever again. So that's what I would say right there. I just told you. But why, Gray? But why? Because they are barbarians, okay? Do you get it? They are... Look what they're doing right now. They just launch missiles at neighboring countries for the hell of it. Because they're nuts. These people are crazy people. They're trying to... What they're really trying to do is get all the other countries to say, hey, U.S., leave, because look, if they're attacking us too. And, we just... It's ridiculous, Every president that's been in office has wanted to do the same damn thing. This one finally did it, okay? It's something that needs to be done. They are, since 1979, have been barbarians, okay? They kill our soldiers in battle. They're the ones that supply the weaponry to all the terrorist organizations around. It's just crazy that people don't get it, it's sad. And you know what? The very same people that don't get it, if Rand Paul had said it, or if you happen to be like an independent type, or if Biden had done it and you're a Democrat, it's the greatest thing, and you have all these great arguments and everything. Be intellectually honest, okay? Try to be more like Fetterman. That guy is like, if he believes in something, he believes in something. He doesn't pretend, Yeah, we buried it up, Lauren. Have you not been following anything, Lauren? You seem pretty confused. You're one of the most confused people that's ever showed up on the show. It's interesting. Oh, well. Let's continue listening to this.
Imagery of a C-130 with two helicopters behind it. What's happening there is the C-130 is actually refueling the helicopters in flight, like you're used to seeing, air refueling tankers. It's an air refueling tanker for...
They did decimate it, but they look like they started digging in there again to try to get down low.
Special operations helicopters, and that gets the helos in and out. The helos are the helicopters are the vehicles that do the rescue. On board those helicopters are what's called pararescuemen, or PJs.
Hey, you guys, I hate asking again, but if we could please help support the channel, we're just really struggling again now. Unfortunately, we are currently we're not even at 50% yet.
Pararescue jumper is what PJ stands for, but pararescue. And those are the...
What we really need is a couple challenges going. We haven't had any challenges tonight, so if we get a couple of those, we might get close.
Guys, they're Air Force, they're special operators, just like SEALs, just like Army Special Forces. They're part of the SOF community, and they are the guys that go in and do the combat rescue under fire. Their motto is so that others may live, and selfless human beings.
Wow, what an operation. I bet he sure was glad to see them, right? And we're learning more about this man. Apparently he was a colonel in the Air Force. Is that normal for a colonel of that high rank to be in the back of an F-15?
It's not.
Yeah, you really are, Lauren. You keep asking questions. You're like, I can tell you're not into what we're doing here. You're not for it. You're not going to convince anybody over here with your comments. But you sound just like the CNN crowd, the same, everything's skeptical, everything, it's not making sense, we're just, like a shrinking violet, just, it's okay, this probably isn't the place for you. Jesus.
It's not common,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's not unheard of. I mean, I flew with what happens in the fighter community is that your group commanders and your wing commanders, which are the rank of colonel or O6, are also rated officers. So they're going to go out there and they fight the fight with the regular line guys.
What are we doing,
they stay proficient to maintain their leadership competency and just know what's going on.
All right, guys,
from
need a
from
challenge.
deck plate level.
What's your final takeaway from all this, Brian? Just mission accomplished?
Mission accomplished. What an incredible act! And again, from my perspective, both from both the F-15 side as well as the rescue side. I mean, I just got to give it up to the helicopter guys, the rescue guys, the special ops, the PJs,
anyways, I don't have time for that.
for getting those guys out of there. The whole community actually, and
We're just trying to have a positive night tonight, okay? We don't need the Laurens of the world trying to, rain on the parade of the military who rescued somebody. All right, you can do that another night.
I think it's just to me, it's a testament of how the American military is. We're not going to leave anybody behind. In fact, as you've seen from the reports, we blew up 2 C-130s, getting one guy out, and that's what we do in the U.S. military. There's no man left behind. We're dedicated to that and to that level of professionalism.
Brian Maddox, appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
All right, well, there you go. There you have it. So is anybody hearing my, we got to get some sort of a challenge or something going in here tonight because we're at a third currently. I thought Navy SEALs, I did really. What do you mean? Guess not. I missed something. Bless this soldier. Yep. Oh boy. All right, I'm going to just switch topics to, I'm going to do this Edna Petro cold case from 1964. Sorry if you guys aren't interested. I'll probably stop in the middle of it if we keep struggling so severely. Well, it doesn't work if you do it. Let's see. I'll donate 5 memberships to honor the brave military men and women. Hey, cool. But that didn't. Nobody matched it. It wasn't a challenge. Oh man. Hey, thank you. Let's see. Who's the other one? So glad they rescued this guy. Yep. I think we got to yeah. Oh boy. Yeah, well, that's like the key, Anyways. All right, here's this case. It looks pretty interesting. I've been kind of looking into it, trying to find the different elements. But that's her right there. That almost looks more recent. But this is back in February of 1964. And let me go to the... right there. Oops. Not sure what's going on, how I got out in the ocean there, but is that 59th? Yeah, I guess that's the right one. Yeah, the challenge part's the key part. You know, that's how we get, you know, some support. Because some people only donate now when it's part of a challenge, that I've noticed. They actually say that. All right, it says, find divorce. Let's see. Find what? I'm not sure what that means. They find divorcee trust slain at Delmonico. So it says a 46-year-old attractive divorcee mother of two was bound, gagged, and killed with a fusillade of bullets last night in the Swank Delmonico Hotel on Park Avenue at 59th Street. So that is this building right here. And, you know, obviously it probably looked the same. It's not a... I don't know if it's a hotel anymore, but you could tell that used to be a hotel, and it looks like there's a lot of renovation going on. There's never not renovations going on. Okay, boss. Sorry about that. You know what's funny is people coming in complaining about ads, you know? It's like you come in, you complain about me having ads, and then you don't ever support the channel. You're not a channel member, you never support the channel, but you bitch about the ads. How do you want me to survive on here, sir? That's what I thought. Okay, great. And by the way, the ads on this show will be about $10, if that. It won't even be close. Actually, we have a really small turnout, so it might be 8. I'll show you tomorrow. That's okay. Yeah, Chris O'Connell. I've sort of given up on tonight. Like it's every time you have those massive lulls, it just disappears. I mean, what an idiot. Hey, I have to watch these ads and I miss something. Jesus. I mean, who are you, man? God, it's ridiculous. And if everybody was on YouTube Premium, we wouldn't be able to survive on YouTube. So even if you had 1 million views, you wouldn't make shit because of YouTube Premium. So hopefully people, you know, don't mind watching an ad here and there. Yeah. Hopefully you guys got rid of the troll. See ya. Now, here we go. Let's see. So she was shot 4 times, twice in the neck and once in the arm, and Mrs. Edna Petro, ex-wife of a Baltimore attorney. She had been scheduled to dine with 4 women friends last night, but canceled the dinner because she said she had a date. But, you know, so she had a date, but so that's why she didn't go out to dinner with the other 4. Or 3, I guess, or 4, I guess is what it is. And it says a woman co-worker occupying the next room on the 6th floor heard screams and the shots at 8:30 p.m. The woman raced into the hall in time to see a good-looking, well-dressed man. So is this the date that she was supposed to be on? breathing heavily, hurrying down the corridor. "Good evening," he said before boarding an elevator and descending to the main floor. He then walked south on Park Avenue. Police ruled out robbery or a sex attack as the motive for the slaying. Miss Petro of 4119 Echodale Avenue. So that's where she lives, other than the fact that she's down there. She's actually down there for some sort of a training for her work, I guess. But this is where she lives, or lived at the time. In that house right there. Miss Petro of 4119 Echodale Avenue, Baltimore, checked into the hotel Sunday with 5 other women. All were in town to take a refresher course at the headquarters of their employer, the Charles of the Ritz Cosmetics firm. Miss Petro occupied room number 608 with one other woman. Her roommate had left for an appointment before Miss Petro's murder. So her roommate leaves, and somebody, she told them that she was going to go out on a date, and then she gets killed. Virginia Reed, who heard screams and shots and saw the man leaving, found Miss Petro lying on her back between one of the twin beds and the door of 608. Her legs were taped together and a piece of tape dangling from her mouth, apparently a gag she had worked loose while screaming. Police were summoned by the night manager, Michael Dufour, after he had been called upstairs by Virginia Reed. Assistant Chief Inspector Walter Henning ruled out robbery because a ring and a watch were still on the body and the woman's purse was undisturbed. He ruled out sex attack because her clothing was intact and the room had not been messed up. Virginia Reed and the woman elevator operator were taken to police headquarters to scan rogues gallery pictures in an attempt to identify the hotel corridor mystery man. The man was described as about 45 years old, about 6 feet tall, and about 180 pounds. He wore a dark fedora and black cashmere coat. The assailant bullets were apparently 25 caliber, so that's that really tiny, those little, almost like a palm-sized pistol. They're tiny. Police reported powder burns on the victim's neck, indicating she had been shot at close range. Except for the see how they have all this detail in the paper back then? Are you guys even interested in this? If we could get just a couple comments connected to the case, that would be great. And I need your guys' support to validate doing something other than Nancy Guthrie, etc., etc., etc. We are still at 50% and fading quick. What am I looking at? Look at. Okay, let me go to page, I think it was 4, page 20. And this is 3, so 17, so like 425. Is that it? Yeah, right there. Or female, and said she couldn't dine with them. Miss Petro had a married daughter, and her other... Let me go back to 408 again. What do you want me to look at? You said, look at. What am I looking at? Oh, the next membership that is donated? Well, how many? I don't know what that means. Hey, well, look at that. Joel Burnt just did 5, I guess. Okay. I mean, like if somebody did multiple ones or just one person or what? What do you mean? Yeah, like right there, I guess. Wow, that was that was very kind. I wasn't even sure what you were doing. Well, dang it, Joel, you should have done 500. I'm just joking. You could have made the goal. Yeah, you always have to have like a maximum or something. Anyways, thank you. That was very kind of you. Joel Burnt and Chris O'Connell. All right, let's see. I'm just finishing up the bottom. I want to go back. I wanted to read the part that I cut off. Miss Petro planned to eat with four of the others at Reuben last night, but before 8 p.m., she told her friends she had made a tentative date, not specifying male, and then 425, not specifying male or female, and said she couldn't dine with them. But then it's weird because there's this guy, right? Miss Petro had a married daughter, and her other child is a college student. She talked by phone with the married daughter last night, shortly before the murder. At 8:15 p.m., a quarter hour before the slaying, she told her neighbor she was upset because her grandchild was ill. And then the ex-husband's reaction. Her former husband, Frank, of 2420 East Monument Street, Baltimore, called a newspaper there at 11 last night, so about 2.5 hours after she was killed, said he had heard a radio report of his ex-wife's death. I mean, man, really? I mean, in 1964, it makes it all the way into Maryland at 2.5 hours later. That's a little odd, Just think about that for a second. Just think about that. So at 11 o'clock, he's already calling a newspaper saying, hey, I heard on the radio my ex-wife's death. So you're in Baltimore, and you heard about, in 2.5 hours, of a shooting in New York City. I mean, my God, that just, and a name and everything. That just sounds really like there's almost no chance of that happening. Is anybody actually following this? Do you guys find it interesting at all? Or it should be. This is an interesting one if you'd actually pay attention. Yeah. He said he knew that Mrs. Petro had talked by phone with their daughter just before the killing, so he knows that, but he refused to give details of their marriage or divorce. He will make no statement, he declared. However, he said he could call police in New York. Petro was a substitute. It sounds like he wasn't even in town, but it's just, how did that make it on a radio 2.5 hours later in a different area? Petro was a substitute police magistrate in Baltimore in 1959. That's the husband. All right, go on to the next one. And it says, ex-wife of a former Uniontown man was found bound, gagged, shot to death. I mean, what would be that's such a weird case, right? You bound and gagged her, and then you shot her to death, but you didn't sexually assault or anything like that. The victim, Miss Edna Petro, 46, of Baltimore, an attractive brunette, was found on the floor of her room, fully clothed, even in high-heeled shoes. The victim's former husband is Frank Petro, 52, an attorney in Baltimore. Does he wear a fedora? Mr. Petro is a son of Mr. and Mrs. Michael Petro, Seawright, of Seawright Avenue, Uniontown. He is a graduate of Uniontown High School. A man described as distinguished looking was seen leaving the room at the Hotel Delmonico, New York City, immediately after the shots were heard by a woman in an adjoining room. The Petros are parents of 2 children, Mr. and Mrs. Mary Eleanor Dudley of Baltimore and Francis, a student at the University of Maryland. New York police were in contact with Frank Petro. He had parted for New York from his home in Baltimore. Police said she had been shot with a 25 caliber automatic twice in the right side of the neck, once in the left elbow, and once in the right shoulder. Her ankles and mouth were taped. There were no signs of sexual assault. Maybe he just couldn't get to that. Like, she wouldn't let him, and ended up shooting him. There was no sexual, it says there was no signs of sexual assault or a struggle. Mrs. Petro came to New York last Sunday with 5 other employees of the Charles of the Ritz cosmetic firm to take a training course. I wasn't even born when this happened. The course was due to end today. And it says the woman wearing a blue dress had rings on her fingers and wore a watch. Let's see, the woman wearing a blue dress had rings on her fingers and wore a watch. Her purse contained $50 and it laid nearby her body, unopened. The room was in order. At 8 p.m., authorities said Mrs. Petro had telephoned to her married daughter, not identified, in Baltimore, engaged in small talk, and learned that one of her grandchildren had smallpox. She is said to have another child in college. Miss Virginia Reed, occupying a 6th-floor room next to Mrs. Petro, said she heard the burst of gunfire. She opened the door, and seconds later, she said, a tall, well-dressed man emerged from Miss Petro's room. That's just crazy. I mean, the guy didn't seem to give a damn either. I gotta go to page 6. That's what this is. Column 3. Is it down here? I mean, it is page 6. I don't know. I don't know where it picks up again. Let me go back to 1. Yeah. What was it, page 2? Yeah, let me close that down again and open it up again. Forgot what page, let's see, what did it say at the bottom? Page 6, column, I don't know, maybe it says column 5. Yeah, we need 1 or 2 more challenges out there and we'll get there. Oop, that was 5. Go to page 6. And maybe it was column 5, so. Local events and others. Child in picture. Storm. I don't see it. Is it on the page before that one? I mean, I like this article had extra information in it. That's it. Well, that just says page 2 right there. Hold on, let me see. Does 6 actually say that? Let me go to a different one. Page 4. Yeah, so that says page 2, even on page 4. So let's go to 7. No. 8 maybe. See, now this one says, no, that says page 5 maybe. Let me go one more over. No, let's see. That's page 6. Okay, maybe this will have it. Is it, is it in the 5th column over? So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe. No, so the other only one would be 3. Okay, let's see. No, that's different. You guys see anything on there? That's the right page finally, but Shit. I can't find it. I'm not going to keep looking at that. All right, let's go to the next day. Didn't see it. Anyway, here's what, like a sketch of what the guy looked like. Yeah, we need about like 20 more channel memberships total from all the freaks out there to get to the goal. All right, here we go. The New York detectives arrived here last night to check into the background of Mrs. Edna Petro, a 46-year-old Hamilton woman who was mysteriously shot to death Thursday night in a Manhattan hotel. Captain George H. Mintines of the Baltimore Police Department said 2 local detectives have been assigned to assist the New Yorkers in their investigation. The case shifted here after police in New York failed to gain a lead into the fatal shooting, which one police official said was done by apparently someone who had a grudge against her. Mrs. Petro of the 4100 block of Echodale Avenue was in New York to attend a training course for employees of a cosmetic firm. Detectives Dennis Casey and Ralph Serpico of Manhattan South Homicide Squad said they sought to question 12 local men and women whose names appeared in an address book found in Miss Petro's purse. They reported that a man who drove Mrs. Petro to the train station here on Sunday afternoon had no connection with the crime. Mrs. Petro left at the time for New York with 5 other cosmetic demonstrators. A neighbor who refused to be identified said Miss Petro dated men on the average of once a week ever since she separated from her husband about 2 years ago. Her estranged husband, Frank Petro, 52, a Baltimore attorney and former substitute police magistrate, so man, that guy is kind of suspicious, to be honest, went to New York yesterday to help in any way. So he wasn't there, but he could have had somebody else do it, you know. Just continued on page 12, but we're already on page 20? How does that work? You go backwards? Jeez, that's wild. Why the hell would you go backwards? And he could after being notified. Yeah, so he went there after notified of the crime. Police there said, however, that he had no information that could help them locate the killer. Mrs. Petro was found partially bound, gagged, and shot 4 times in the neck, arm, and shoulder. Mrs. Virginia Reed, also of Baltimore, who occupied the adjacent hotel room on the 6th floor, told police she heard screams and a volley of shots. Miss Reed said she ran into the hall and saw a tall, well-dressed man, about 45, leaving Miss Petro's room. He brushed by and said, "Good evening," Mrs. Reed told police. The elevator operator, who took him to the 1st floor, reported that the man was breathing heavily and sweating. Other witnesses said he rushed from the lobby into the Park Avenue and disappeared. Wow, so they actually talked, you know, they had the guy in the elevator. See, this is all stuff you'd never hear, you know, like they would never have this in the paper now. But you see how, like, they even had the elevator operator who described what he saw. Now, police made a sketch of the stranger from descriptions supplied by the witnesses. The sketch is being widely circulated in an effort to get him. Mrs. Petro lived with her youngest daughter, Frances, about 20, on Echodale Avenue. Another daughter, Mrs. Mary Dudley, spoke to her mother by telephone about half an hour before she was shot. See, whenever we do these cases, you guys, you see how dead it is in here? Like, there's no support for the channel, and this is why it's almost impossible to cover these cold cases anymore. Because it's just so deflating. You're just talking and talking for hours and hours, and people are just, yeah, exactly, right? Just like The Spice Shed said he's got the Z's going on there. You see that? That's exactly what it feels like. It's how you guys treat it. Because I need support for the channel regardless of what we're discussing. You know? Yeah, I think it's actually pretty interesting myself. Your brain just doesn't work very good, the Spice Sheds. But I'm wanting, I'm hoping that people will support my channel regardless of what we're talking about. Because it makes it so that you just have to sit there and people always go, Gray, you keep covering the same thing. Yeah, that's because there's people watching those things. Now, if you want these from time to time, this is actually an interesting story, but I need the support from people watching it to do these, okay? So if you guys could please gift some channel memberships, maybe do a couple more challenges, that would be great. Thank you. Man, it's like pulling teeth. It's crazy. Mrs. Reed said she ran into the hall and saw a tall, well-dressed man, about 45, leaving Mrs. Petro's room. He brushed by and said, "Good evening," Mrs. Reed said. Mrs. Reed told police. The elevator operator who took him to the first floor reported that the man was breathing heavily and sweating. Other witnesses said he rushed from the lobby onto Park Avenue and disappeared. Police made a sketch of the stranger from descriptions supplied by the witnesses. The sketch is being widely circulated in an effort to get him. Miss Petro lived with their youngest daughter, Frances, about 20, on Eckerdale Avenue. Another daughter, Mrs. Mary Dudley, spoke to her mother by telephone about half an hour before she was shot, police said. Investigators said that Mrs. Petro called the hotel switchboard operator at 8:28 p.m., only moments before the killer struck. They ruled out robbery or sexual assault as a motive. Nothing that her property, noting that her property had been left intact and she had not been molested. The body was brought to Baltimore for funeral services Monday. Let me go back to 20. Like, here's what they say he looked like. Hey, thanks, Sandy Shirley. Oh, looks like Lisa's got a challenge. So a 5 membership gifted, and then she'll donate 25 in coffee. That'd be awesome. Thank you. And thank you, Sandy Shirley, enjoying the cold kit. Yeah, man, me too. I like doing these, but it's just really, the level of interest by most people. It used to be that's all we did. Remember that? During COVID and everything, we just go through these cold cases one after the other. That's why we have such a great knowledge of cases and are able to, determine what goes on in cases because we've covered so many. Yeah. So Lisa Valenzuela has a challenge on the screen, you guys. You see that? All right. Hey, thanks, Chris O'Connell again. Murder probe goes to Baltimore. To New York. See, they're going to Baltimore. That's where her husband lives. 2 New York City detectives began checking Saturday into the background of a Baltimore woman slain in New York hotel. Dennis Casey and Ralph Serpico of the Manhattan South Homicide Squad said they had an address book from the purse of Mrs. Edna Petro, which contains the names of 12 Baltimore men and women. Mrs. Petro, 46, a strikingly beautiful woman, was found dead on the floor of her room in the Hotel Delmonico on Park Avenue Thursday night. She had been bound and gagged and shot 4 times in the neck, arms, and shoulder. Probably the neck shot killed her, I would imagine. All right, we need 4 more gifted memberships to match Lisa Valenzuela's goal or challenge. The New York police have ruled out robbery and sexual assault as possible motives. This is all like February 7th, 8th, 9th, all those articles, and then we got February 10th here. 2 New York City police detectives checked slim clues in Baltimore. Her home was in Baltimore, was found shot Thursday night in her room. Let's see, a witness described the man seen leaving the room after shots were heard as well-dressed and distinguished-looking, about 50 years old, which is really close to the age of her husband, right? I don't know what he looks like. Almost 6 feet tall and 180 pounds with an olive complexion and gray hair at the temples. Man, I just think it's so bizarre to hear on a radio, like at 11 o'clock at night, you've already heard about something that happened at 8:30 in New York and you're in Baltimore. And you hear it on a radio. That just seems, and you know it's your wife somehow already. I mean, that's just unbelievably, it's almost like somebody already knew. Oh yeah, I heard it on the radio, and then you call. I wonder if police ever checked to see if that was on the radio. Do you guys see that up there? Lisa's got a challenge up there. We need 4 more gifted channel memberships, please. Thank you. A woman described a man seen leaving the room after shots were heard as well-dressed and distinguished-looking, about 50 years old, almost 6 feet tall, and 180, with an olive complexion and gray hair at the temples. The woman's purse containing $50 in jewelry was not taken, and she was fully clothed. Right. I mean, what do you guys think so far? It's pretty weird. I mean, if it's not the husband, it's really strange. Man, you guys. A clue with an 85-cent price tag on it. A spool of inch-wide white adhesive tape used in binding the victim's feet and mouth loomed last night as the most promising key. Man, if they still have that, and they can get a hair off of that, that'd be pretty, you could still solve this thing. The unused portion of the roll, police revealed, lay at the feet of the 46-year-old Baltimore beauty consultant when her body with 4 bullet wounds was found Thursday night in her room at the Hotel Delmonico. The metal cover of the spool was nearby on a dresser and is believed to have yielded at least a partial print of one of the killer's fingers. Refusing to say where it was found, Assistant Chief Inspector Walter Henning, in charge of detectives in the Manhattan South, indicated that one such print had been developed. Such a partial print is not sufficient for processing through the Bureau of Criminal Identification, but it reportedly could bring about a positive identification through a comparison if the right suspect is found. If the killer is brought in, we have enough evidence to convict him. The tape spool bore the name of a store, but not an address. Detectives are trying to check that out. Hey guys, is there any chance you can try to reach Lisa Valenzuela's challenge up there? She's going to donate 5 coffees if 5 of you just donate 1 coffee or just one $5 super chat. It's the same thing. All right, so that means she's doubling up for you guys. 2 for 1 on your end. And that's a great way to help support the channel. If the killer is brought in, we have enough, so they can compare any person they bring in's fingerprints to the one that they got. The tape spool bore the name of a store, but not an address. Investigation centered on the spool as another promising lead. The questioning at Philadelphia of a traveling salesman whose name and address were in Miss Petro's memorandum book seemingly led to a dead end. Hey, thanks, Carol Silva. I think he gave one earlier too, so thank you. The man of the book married and, the man of the book married and a luggage salesman voluntarily visited authorities on Sunday with 2 lawyers and refused to pose in a police lineup, but was viewed by Mrs. Virginia Reeb, also a Baltimore beauty consultant, who had a room at the Delmonico adjoining Mrs. Petro. No one is eliminated. Miss Reeb had described, so I guess that's the lady, right? But was viewed by Mrs. Virginia Reeb, also a Baltimore beauty consultant, who had a room at the Delmonico adjoining Miss Petro's. I wonder if that's the lady who saw the guy running out, and she's actually looking at these pictures of these people. Yeah, in the lineup. So that is her. So they gave out the name. Miss Virginia Reeb is the one who saw the person running out. Mrs. Reeb had described a well-dressed, middle-aged man as hurrying towards the elevator after the shots in Mrs. Petro's room. Mrs. Reeb, despite earlier reports that she made an identification, is said to have been unable to say the Philadelphian was the man she saw. Detective Captain Luis Cattell indicated the man had been previously cleared, but added no one had been completely eliminated. Anybody could have done it. So they're looking at the tape. They got a fingerprint off of that. All right, we still need 3 more, you guys. What's the deal tonight? Just really... Let's see. Delmonico's case heats on Mr. X. The cop, shy Philadelphia businessman who dated the slain Mrs. Edna Petro, is the key man in the investigation of the February 6th murder at Delmonico High. Police officials stated flatly yesterday. After a week of futile daily negotiations by telephone with the man's Philadelphia lawyers, climaxed by a flat refusal by the man himself on Monday to submit to any questioning, 2 detectives were sent to the Quaker City late yesterday to do a thorough gumshoe job on him. We went to place this man either in or out of the murder, said Assistant Chief Inspector Walter F. Henning. Well, to get his fingerprints, right? Captain Luis C. Cattell, head of Manhattan South Homicide Squad, added, the investigation had no place to go until we get past him. Mrs. Petro, a 46-year-old beauty consultant from Baltimore, was in New York for a training course when she was shot to death in her room at the elegant Delmonico Hotel, 59th Street. The mystery man, whose name has been carefully withheld thus far, lives in the Bala Cynwyd, a main-line suburb of Philadelphia, with his wife and children. Ooh. Yeah, so maybe she was threatening to tell his wife or something. He got word that the police were interested in him, and on February 9th, he showed up at Lower Marion Township Police Headquarters, which covers Balsonwood, with 2 lawyers. The two New York detectives hurried there with Mrs. Virginia Reeb. Okay, that's the witness, a friend of the slain woman who saw the killer flee, but the man refused to talk to them or to appear in the lineup for Mrs. Reeb. Oh, boy. She saw him. So this is the guy that she was dating, but he's married and has kids. She saw him outside the building as he left for home. The cops had no legal grounds for detaining him, and she told the detectives he was the man she saw in the hotel corridor. Hey guys, any chance we can get the other 3 gifted channel memberships up there to try to get to Lisa Valenzuela's challenge? The man's lawyer subsequently agreed to have him come up to New York for questioning, but he balked, and the week of fruitless negotiations followed. So at 2:30 p.m. yesterday, the detectives set out once more from the East 51st Street station, Philadelphia bound. So now it's like this guy's more likely than the ex-husband, who seems like he was at home, but he may have paid, who knows, right? They will try again to question him and find one of his fingerprints. Detectives found a dozen good fingerprints in the murdered woman's room. Wow. Let's see. It's weird. I wasn't even born when this was happening. I don't know, Lisa. Been trying. I'm trying to get to your thing. It's just not happening. Police said 2 detectives were making another attempt to question a Philadelphia man in the Hotel Delmonico slang, a 46-year-old beauty consultant. Detective Captain Lewis C. Cattell said shortly before the detectives left for Philadelphia that the man had refused so far to cooperate with the investigation. He refused last week to talk with detectives in Philadelphia or to come to New York voluntarily. The victim of the February 6th slaying was Edna Petro of Baltimore, who was here on a business trip. She was found bound and gagged with 4 bullets, in the neck, arm, shoulder, for bullet wounds. Police so far have been unable to establish a motive for the killing. An address book was found in Mrs. Petro's hotel room, and detectives are attempting to talk with all persons listed. Yeah, so now we're on February 20th. All right, you guys, what do I do to get you guys to help that one challenge out? This is how we get to our goals each night. So now we got 3 of them. We just need 2 more, you guys. Just 2 more, and we got a challenge in. All right, let's see this one. So here he is. Man refuses to cooperate. New York City detectives have failed in a second trip to Philadelphia to question a Philadelphia man about the February 6th murder of Edna Petro. The first trip was made by detectives. Isn't that weird that we have this kind of information? The first trip was made by detectives February 9th when Virginia Reeb, a friend of the slain woman, sought to view the Philadelphia man, but he declined to appear in a lineup. Hey, thanks, Jim. Miss Reeb told police right after the murder that she saw a well-dressed middle-aged man leaving Mrs. Petro's room at the Delmonico Hotel. The Philadelphia man's name was found in Mrs. Petro's address book. His identity had been withheld by police, so that made sense. See, to me, it seems like the person she was supposed to have the date with is this guy, right? And so that person's name would necessarily be in her address book, or like with a phone number. Okay, we need 2 more gifted memberships, you guys, to reach Lisa Valenzuela's goal or challenge that she had. So the Philadelphia man's name was found in Miss Petro's address book. His identity has been withheld by police. He said the man has refused to cooperate with police in the investigation. He will not come to New York voluntarily. Asked if detectives had spoke to the man's attorney on the latest trip, a police spokesman said they saw who they wanted to see. It has not been decided if a further effort will be made to bring the Philadelphia man, to the New York police said. Mrs. Petro, a beautiful consultant, was in New York with 5 colleagues for a special training course when she was slain. Now, that guy seems like a pretty good... like, they probably had the right guy here. Salesman cleared. Now it says he's cleared, I guess. Let's see. Police said Wednesday night that a fingerprint check had ruled out a Philadelphia luggage salesman. Well, maybe, I don't know if this is a different person. For questioning in the slaying of a Baltimore divorcee. The woman, Mrs. Edna Petro, 46, was shot in her room, hotel. A beauty consultant. I mean, was the other guy a luggage consultant? I don't remember them saying that. She was a former Bristol resident. Officers said latent fingerprints found near the body were sufficient to rule out the Philadelphian whom they refused to name. Okay, so it is that guy. But were not clear enough to lead them to the killer. Mrs. Virginia Reeb, who... Hey, thanks, Michelle H. One more, you guys. One more. Mrs. Virginia Reeb, who occupied the room next to Mrs. Petro, told police she had seen a man leave the slain woman's room. Police said the Philadelphia salesman's name was among those in Mrs. Petro's address book. Officers said he had refused to come to New York for questioning, but his fingerprints were brought by his lawyer. Okay, so that is that guy. His fingerprints were brought by his lawyer. Well, whose fingerprints are those? I mean, what does that even mean? I mean, you know, what does that even mean? His fingerprints were brought by the lawyer? Hey, here's his fingerprints, and you put some fingerprints from some random, you know, even yourself, you could just put them on there, and they're not going to match, right? That's ridiculous. I mean, you would hope that they did it, you know, like in a better way, you know, like they, he had refused to come to New York City for questioning, but his fingerprints were brought to New York by his lawyer. What does that even mean right there? That's insane. Yeah, these are his. Hey, thanks, Carol Silva. Hey, I think that did it. They got to Lisa's. So we're currently at, I think we to get to the goal in here, we need another, let's see. I think 8 channel memberships would get to the goal, and then I could donate, and then I'll donate 5 myself. So that's my challenge. I'll donate 5 if you guys do 8. All right, but that's just the minimum goal. So that's why we're just barely scraping. This month is like kind of going like a lot of last month already. Just barely kind of squeaking by. Petro case not solved. Nearly a year and a half after a beauty consultant who was born and reared in Bristol was shot to death in a fashionable Park Avenue hotel in New York, the slaying remains unsolved. Miss Edna Petro was found and bound and gagged in her 6th floor room in Delmonico Hotel the night of February 6th. This is July, so this is like 5 months later. So that's my challenge. I'll donate 5 if you guys do 8. Right? I know it's, you know, it's not 1 for 1, but it's close, right? Just minutes before, she had talked by telephone with a daughter in Baltimore. Then 8 shots were fired. Wow, 8 now. 4 struck the victim, killing her instantly. A distinguished-looking man dashed from the room, brushed past a startled woman in the hall, and got into an elevator. Today, the case remains the mystery. One policeman called it at the time. A detective said the slaying is still under investigation. The killer left the police little evidence to work with. No usable fingerprints were found. Man, if they still had that tape and whatnot, they could easily get something. A pair of men's gloves was on the floor. And thanks, Lisa, for the coffees there. A police artist sketched the man described by the woman and the elevator operator. So far, that had led nowhere. Miss Petro, 46, estranged from her lawyer husband, was in New York for a cosmetic training course. She represented Charles of the Ritz. Let's see. She represented Charles of the Ritz at the Hecht department store in Baltimore. She left Bristol in 1937 or 1938. She had planned to dine that night with her roommate, Mrs. Elaine Johns, who was out of the hotel at the time of the slaying. An investigator suggested Miss Petro may have been the victim of a grudge killing, since she was neither robbed nor assaulted. The body was found near the open closet door, raising the possibility the killer had hidden there. The day of the killing, the hotel had been used as news headquarters by then Presidential Press Secretary Pierre Salinger for a visit to New York by President Johnson. Man, not one person. I have my challenge in there, you guys. So just to reach the minimum goal, we need 8, but I'll donate 5 if you guys get to the 8th. All right. Then I saw this in here. I mean, it's got to be the same one. It's in this one says Ohio. I mean, it could be a different Edna Petro, but man, how many people have that name? I don't know, maybe that's just a different person. And then here's her find a grave. That was my favorite NBA basketball player's name, Petro. Drazen Petrovic. But that's all there is, you guys. I mean, isn't that crazy? That sounds like that case would have been solved today. There's no doubt about it. They would have had the tape and everything, and well, anyways, I gotta go use the restroom here. I'll play this.
Chasing every clue, like blue with a bone. It's the twist, the turns, the secrets they keep. Falling down rabbit holes, it's a crime to sleep. I'm a freak, yeah, I'm a freak. Got a curious mind, and I dive in deep. I'm a freak, yeah, I'm a freak, but I'm not alone. There's millions just There's a whole world of people who think like me. Yeah, I'm a freak and I'm proud to be.
The gray zone. I got a gray zone right here. This is the gray zone.
Call us strange, call us obsessed, but we're just curious minds doing what we do best. It's not the danger, it's a story beneath the hunt for the answer.
Hey, Marty sent a coffee in there. Hey, thanks, Marty.
Yeah, I'm a freak. Yeah, I'm a freak.
Yeah, there you go. Crazy, huh? Somebody, one of the freaks wrote that. Made it on, sent it to me. Well, what's going on, everybody? That was the cold case. We could try one of what we used to do, the newspapers.com thing where people send in, well, forget it. Tonight doesn't seem like it's going to generate anything. It's just, I don't know. Yeah, I just saw it in here, Marty, on my email. I didn't see him in here, but. Yeah, I was gonna open the phone lines up, but man, nobody's gonna call in. Yeah, I can just tell. I don't know. Forgot his name, Sandy. It was a long time ago. Just that's all they ever did was they sent that in, and then that was it. Haven't seen them since. Why do you always ask those little extra things that put me on the spot? It's just kind of weird. Let's see. Well, nobody's chatting, so that's the end of the show. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for being here. Another night didn't make the goal. Becoming sort of the norm. Let's see. What do we got here? Not one person matched in when I said 8 and I'll do 5. It's crazy. So thank you to Cinnamon Sin Freak, and then we had Chris O'Connell gifted 5 right there, and then Cheryl Bullock, and then Chris O'Connell. I mean, without Chris O'Connell tonight, we wouldn't even have been at 40%. It wouldn't just nothing. That's why you can't do. It's just so disappointing, you guys. Really, you can't cover cold cases. If I was doing Nancy Guthrie tonight, I would have like 250 to 300 people, and we would have made it. But you decide to do something a little different, and just boom, collapse. Unbelievable. And thanks to K-Me, and then K-Me gifted one, then Joel Burnt, and thanks for everybody who did help support. I appreciate it. Then we have Chris O'Connell again with basically 4 channel memberships worth there. Then we had Sandy Shirley, Joel Burnt, and then Chris O'Connell, then Whiskey Boots, and Cheryl Bullock, and Richard Watts, and let's see, Chris O'Connell again, and Chris O'Connell gifted 5, then Carol Silva. Carol Silva did quite a few of them tonight. Oh, another one right there. Then Joel Burnt gifted 5. Then Chris O'Connell gifted 10. Then Sandy Shirley. Then Chris O'Connell, Carol Silva, St. Jop, Jim Lawn, Michelle H., Carol Silva then Jim Lawn, and then Carol Silva did 5 right there. Let's see, where did we get to? Yeah. Well, let's see. Well, it looks like if maybe 8 was, if somebody does 1, then we'll get to the, well, there's 5. Okay, then I'm going to donate my 5. Oh, we just snuck in the goal right at the buzzer there. Hold on, I'm going to give 5. It's a miracle. I mean, my God, I swear to God, every time I do the challenge, it just, you know. Well, you remember the case with the lady in the that buried the 2 suitcases? I had gotten a whole bunch of FOIA request stuff on that. I don't know, maybe we could go over those tomorrow or something. I forgot her name, how I referred to her though. Yeah, it's in there somewhere. You want to do another one? I think I have another one in here somewhere. Yeah. That was about to take off, but, you know, it was like, you know, the thing is, if I can go and work on videos or do something for tomorrow, but, you know, you sent the 5 in, and then Lisa sent another 5 in, so that was cool. And thanks, Chris O'Connell, for all of your support in there. It really made a big difference. Oh yeah, that one right there. So I've got a whole bunch of stuff that I ordered and got in the, you know, 2 girls found dead in Cleveland. That's in the suitcase. All right, hold on. I think it was the 23rd. Yeah, I got a bunch of videos and everything. All right, let me go look. I think I had more cold cases that I've pulled, but I just don't dare to do them. I'm just looking for it. Was it this Taylor McAllister? Okay, let's do this one really quick. Taylor McAllister. I gotta make a folder though. I mean, on Google Earth. Wait, hold on. I think this one's first. No, that first one was, that was it. But it says St. Petersburg police have arrested several people, including a son of a prominent flooring store chain chain's late founder, as part of an investigation into the death of a 22-year-old woman whose body was found in an alley last year. And it's weird, too, because I didn't think I could find... Let me go look. So I remember looking around and I didn't find her name. The Taylor McAllister. And so that was last year. That would have been 2016. And then this was in Florida, right? Yeah. Yeah. So there it is right there. She passed away on December 22nd, 2016. Taylor was born in Melbourne, Florida. And so this is on the 27th. And I don't know if there's another article that talks about... Florida is really bad in newspapers.com. But she was found back then. And then a year later, St. Petersburg police have arrested several people, including a son of prominent flooring store chain late founder, as part of an investigation into the death of a 22-year-old woman whose body was found in an alley last year. The woman, Taylor McAllister, a mother of two, was last seen alive at the Palm Harbor home of 52-year-old Robert Butler III, investigators said. His father was the founder of Bob's Carpet and Flooring, the chain with more than a dozen stores in West Florida. Authorities found McAllister's body in an alley near, let's go over there. So it's in 63rd Avenue South. Oh. Here's 63rd Avenue South. Well, geez. I mean, that's... that doesn't help anything. There's no cross street or anything. Detectives later learned that she had been left there by Deontay Baker, 35, and Karan Archer, 25, who told investigators they picked up McAllister from Butler's home when she was barely conscious, according to a police report. After they realized McAllister was dead, the men tried to return Butler to Butler's house in Palm Harbor, Cobb's Landing neighborhood, according to the arrest reports. But Butler did not let them. Investigators said. Instead, the men told detectives Butler allowed them to move McAllister's personal belongings and also to have their truck cleaned. Butler faces charges of failure to report a death, felony possession of marijuana, and being a felon in possession of ammunition. He could not be reached for comment, but jail records show he was released on a $15,000 bail on Wednesday. Baker is facing charges of failure to report a death and money laundering. He is a drug dealer, according to the arrest report, and from March 2013 through April 2016, cashed $194,150 in checks from a drug buyer's laundering it through the girlfriend's personal and business accounts. Authorities did not name the buyer, but did not release a cause of death for McAllister. They said the case is still under investigation and more charges could be filed. Baker's relationship to Butler was not clear. Well, those are the two individuals. You know, Baker here and Baker and Butler. Baker's relationship to Butler was not clear from police reports. Butler has a lengthy arrest history, including 4 drug charges, and was convicted in the early 1990s of aggravated assault. McAllister's father, Bill, said she had twin daughters and was living with Butler before her death. So I guess apparently Taylor was living with Butler before her death and had twin daughters. Thanks, Jim. Let's see. Taylor, he said the daughter struggled with a pill addiction, and people who knew her said the older man was supplying her with drugs and money like a sugar daddy. Taylor, she did have an addiction and was battling that, and I think he kind of, for his benefit, took advantage of that and her situation, Bill McAllister said. I mean, what is a 52-year-old doing with a 22-year-old? McAllister's parents questioned why Butler did not get their daughter help if she was ailing. If someone barely, this is just like our, remember the whole thing we did on Rockabye Baby? You know, somebody dies in their home, from drugs, and then they panic, so then they end up, dismembering the body, and, it's like, who the hell does that? But people claim that all the time. It's ridiculous. I mean, by the way, unless you're a doctor, if you have the ability to just dismember a body, you should probably be in prison. Like, I don't want somebody who can just casually dismember bodies out walking about. What do you guys think about that? McAllister's parents questioned why Butler did not get their daughter help if she was ailing. According to the Something Archives, Butler was a general manager at the family's carpet store in Largo. State corporate filings do not list the younger Butler as an agent for the company in 2017, but last year he was the vice president. No one at the corporate office could be reached for comment. In addition to Butler and Baker, Archer is also accused of failing to report a death. Two other people, Miriam Humphrey, 31, and Khadijah Hunt, 24, each face charges of money laundering. All right. So that was the September. Okay, and then later, after that, then this one came out. So I guess they were charged. I actually saw the other articles too, but I was just kind of like, okay. But they ended up being charged, and then they ended up, Taylor Ann McAllister was killed. At least that's what the Pinellas Pasco Medical Examiner's Office determined. Her body was dumped in an alley in St. Petersburg 2 years ago. The 22-year-old woman died of asphyxia, according to her autopsy. Officials ruled it a homicide. So she actually died of asphyxia. So I don't know if that could be, can you die of asphyxia from drugs? Or, I mean, I know what it means. I mean, you're basically, your airway is, I mean, I think when you drown, it's almost the same thing, right? It's not like strangulation where you're, I don't know, let me just look that up. Generally, I remember, but for some reason my brain isn't, let's see. A condition arising when the body is deprived of, yeah, right, it's just deprived of oxygen. So I'm just kind of wondering if something, like, for example, let's say she just quit breathing. Isn't that sort of the same thing? But there are no murder charges, no manslaughter charges, not the only charges related to her killing are 3 counts of failing to report a death. That's what Robert Butler III and Kuran Archer pleaded guilty to on Friday. For McAllister's parents, Bill and Leslie McAllister, it's a thin reckoning for their daughter's killing. We're disgusted, Bill McAllister said before the hearing. We're going to court for a misdemeanor because that's all failure to report a death is. I mean, isn't that all they got is misdemeanors, and she ends up dying. Let me see this. This one I hadn't really got a ton of info because there wasn't any. But let's just see what this says right here. In the medium. Taylor McAllister was 22 years old and living in St. Petersburg, Florida, when her almost nude body was found in an alleyway on December 22nd, 2016. Taylor was in the alley behind 63rd Avenue South. What does that even mean? How come they keep saying that? Let me try. St. Petersburg, Florida. Maybe it's really obvious. I don't know. Maybe it's just a small little... alley. I don't even see one. I don't know. Forget it. No, this is... let me read this one. This is the write-up that they had in the Project Cold case. So Taylor McAllister was an outgoing, kind-hearted, music-loving girl. She taught herself to play the guitar, and after high school wanted to pursue a career in music, her father stated. Her parents, Bill and Leslie, loved sharing how extraordinary she was. Her father, Bill, expressed, she was the type of person that whoever met her instantly fell in love with her. Taylor loved helping people. In high school, she would stand up for the kids getting bullied and take them under her wing. People always felt comfortable around Taylor, her mom stated. Even if she met you one time, if she ran into you at the grocery store, she would give you the biggest hug. That's just who Taylor was. She would be so excited about seeing you and just knowing you. After Taylor's funeral, someone they have never met came up to Taylor's parents and said, I met your daughter one time. I want you to know she made me feel so special. Tama Mitsa, Taylor's best friend, stated, all it took was me hearing a line from SpongeBob in my 7th grade science class coming from a blonde who became my best friend instantly. She was one of a kind. Her love and energy was contagious. She constantly made everyone laugh. Taylor was always very open and close with her parents. In 2013, she opened up to them about her experimenting with drugs. That's 3 years before she died. Taylor met someone, and after only a few months, she got married at the age of 19. She moved away with her husband, but when she became pregnant, she decided to move back home to the love and care of her parents and had been sober throughout her pregnancy. In 2014 was the year that things were getting back on track for Taylor. She had become a mother to twin girls who wanted her home, became the mother of 2 twin girls. We wanted her home to help take care of her throughout her pregnancy, said Leslie McAllister. After she gave birth, she was prescribed Percocet, which eventually led to a relapse and a downward spiral that ended in tragedy. In December of 2016, the McAllister family received the most devastating news they could imagine. 22-year-old Taylor had been found dead in an alley in St. Petersburg, Florida. It felt like everything was moving in slow motion, her father, Bill McAllister, said. On the night of December 22nd, Taylor was in a home where she had been staying with an older man for the past few months. According to reports, the man said he discovered Taylor unconscious and then called 2 friends to transport her to the hospital. She died on the way. The friends told police, and unsure of what to do, let's see. She died on the way, the friends told police. Seems like there should be a period here. And then the next one should be, unsure of what to do, they put her body in an alley and fled. Taylor was found the next morning. The 3 men were convicted of failure to report a death, but no one has been charged for the murder. I don't think they were ever taking her to the hospital. That's bullshit. Her case has since gone cold. The McAllister family is still searching for answers, appearing on news stations, talk shows, and podcasts to tell their daughter's story. She loved life. She would have been a great person. She made some terrible mistakes, but drugs don't define her. The family is holding out hope that one day someone will come forward with information that will help reopen the case and find the person who's responsible. Well, it's got to be one of those people, don't you think? I mean...
Hi, this is Love Song.
Oh, that's her, right? That's Taylor McAllister.
Whenever I'm alone with you, you make me feel like I am home again. Whenever I'm alone with you, you make me feel like I am whole again. Whenever I'm alone with you, you make me feel like I am young again. Whenever I'm alone with you, you make me feel like I am fun again. However far away, I will always love you. However
It was ruled a murder
long I
death, so...
stay, I will always love you. Whatever words I say, I will always love you. I will always love
That's too bad. She...
Whenever I'm alone with you, you make me feel like I am free again. Whenever I'm alone with
No, that's where it ended. That's pretty sad.
us.
That kind of sucks. Jeez. Good singing. Here, let me look at this. You still out there, Carol Silva? That was one. That's not as cold as the other ones, you know. Let me there it is. See, I think this is associated with that because it has the same picture. Project Cold Case Database, you know. Hey, thanks, Wild Bill Lossman. Yeah, but like on here, see, that allows you to do these searches. So how about like I'll let you guys. I don't know. I usually like to look up females because males usually it's like some kind of rare. Whenever there's a female, and then over here you got cause. So you have all these different things. You have ligature, knife, gun. See, it's like right in these ranges here when you have knife, stabbing, ligature, strangulation, and then blunt force even. Like those are the ones you get the unusual cases, you know. You know, like you could even do beaten. I mean, I'm not even sure like the ages here. You know, just see what happens. Hit the button. You know, so every one of these people here was beaten and battered when they were killed. Every one of these people. Like this one here, Elizabeth Doran. That one will probably never be discussed. Except I did. I did right there. Look at that. That's crazy. I did do that one. That's wild. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if, let's see. Well, there's Doris Bean up there. Let's see if that one, did I do that one? No. Yeah, we could take a look at that one. See that? Doris Bean right there. Got another 27 minutes. And thanks for keeping me on here. I was about to take off. And I just do that because when we're about ready to, if it's just dead as a doornail, I can go do something else. I got to try to figure out something on my videos. I mean, man, I've put out some good videos lately, and they've only got like 3,000 views on some of them. It's just terrible. All right, let me look at this Doris Bean up here. Doris Bean, and this is 1995. And then looks like it's in New Hampshire. Is it going to show up, anybody? Ah, look at that. Is that going to be good? Because this happened on, yeah, November 11th. Doris Bean, 1995. There. Yeah, okay, let me just look at these. And then let's get the November 1995. And then scroll through it. Now let me put quotes around her name. That means it has to be in that order. All right. 11th. 13th is the first time it ever shows up. I don't know anything about Doris Bean here. How much you want to bet that house looks exactly the same? Investigators yesterday were awaiting autopsy on the bodies of two elderly... Did we do this one? It seems weird. On the bodies of two elderly sisters, I don't think so, found dead over the weekend in the Cape Cod-style home they shared in a residential neighborhood. State and Hudson police were called to the home of Loretta Allen, 76, and Doris Bean, 81, Saturday afternoon. Yesterday, the authorities confirmed both women had been killed, but gave few details. Yeah, let me look something up. Go to been verified. Let me check out Doris Bean. That seems like a pretty uncommon name. Doris Bean, New Hampshire. And then she'd be, if this is 95 and she was 81, she would be like 100 and something. One, I guess there's more than one of those. Witness said, okay, let's just see if they give out the address in here. Assistant Attorney General John Steffens said the killings happened sometime on Saturday and that both bodies were found in the kitchen of the home in the town of 19,000. Both women had been killed, but gave few details. A champagne-colored 1983 Pontiac Bonneville four-door sedan registered to Allen was found in Nassau yesterday. Stevens said the car had been taken to a secure area in Concord to be searched for clues. Wow, so somebody took her car and drove it somewhere. They had their guns pulled. Let's see. The police approached the home Saturday. Wait, let me read this again. Right now, we are not ruling out anything, and we're currently investigating a number of leads, he said. For now, we are asking people in the area to be careful. A champagne-colored 1983 Pontiac Bonneville four-door sedan registered to Loretta Allen was found in Nassau yesterday. Stevens said the car had been taken to a secure area in Concord to be searched for clues. The police approached the home Saturday with drawn weapons, said Charles McCarthy of Nassau, who was driving by the house at the time. They had their guns pulled and were running around the house, McCarthy said Saturday night. Paramedics were waiting down the road. Captains and some other officers came out. At that point, the paramedics cleared the scene. The police interviewed neighbors, asking if they had seen any suspicious cars or strangers in the area during the past week. I hope it was, I mean, it's sort of a little bit like Guthrie, right? I mean, just ends up, in this case, there's dead, the people were killed, but, they don't know who the person was and why or anything. I hope it wasn't a violent death. Well, who knows? We still don't know the why in the Guthrie case, I hope it wasn't a violent death. I hope they went quickly, said Janice, who lives down the street from the two women. Oh, there it is. Here, let me look this up. So her name is definitely one that would never... Let's see. Her name is Janice. So you have to do this sometimes. I look up witnesses, and if they live across the street, then you might be able to... Okay, there's only one person with that. Now this is in Hudson. And yeah, and I think this is her. Hold on. I think I found that person. Believe it or not. Right, hold on. I'm going to do both of them. So it's Loretta Allen, 76, and Doris Bean, 81. Sorry. Got to do it kind of organized or you lose everything. Okay, so I got her address. Let me see what her address history is. So this is 1995, so this is going to be it right here. Got it. And I'm going to put it in. There we go. So that's the neighbor. And what was her name? Janice. Yeah. And then what's that? What the house look like? That. I think that's it. See, that's how I do shit sometimes. You find the neighbor, and then let me just put this down here really quick. Yeah, I mean that's 100%. Yeah, that's definitely. Do you guys see that? Here, just a second. You see it right there, right? Look at that, huh? Can I get a boom shakalaka? Hey, that's how you find it, man. I found the neighbor because the beans weren't in there or anything easy, and so there you go. That's the house. All right, there we go. I knew it would look the same. So that neighbor is just right there. See, so you find the neighbor, and then you just sort of find the house that's kind of close, and then that was it. I knew it kind of looked right, but then as soon as I got to that angle, then you could really see. All right, so let me do this part again. They ran around the house. The police interviewed neighbors asking if they had seen anything suspicious or cars. I hope it wasn't a violent death. Neighbors Margaret Bastini said the sisters were friendly and well liked in the neighborhood. Janice, the one that we just found the house of, who lives down the street from the two women. Police came to our house and told us to be aware and cautious. They didn't give us any details. Doris Goodale, a neighbor of Alan and Bean, was shaken as she was taken, as she talked about the sisters. Loretta had been taking care of the sister. Goodale said Doris had to have a lot of help. Goodale said that Bean was never married, but Alan had a son and daughter. One living in Florida and one in Massachusetts. Man, let's see if this is different. All right. Now, there he goes, a better picture of the house. I'm sure it'll have the address in here at some point. I wouldn't have had to do what I just did, but I like to just do it anyway. Authorities were awaiting autopsy results yesterday on the bodies of two elderly sisters found dead over the weekend in the Cape Cod-style home they shared in a residential neighborhood. State and Hudson police were called to the home of Loretta Allen, 76, and Doris Bean, 81, Saturday afternoon. Yesterday, authorities confirmed both women had been killed, but gave few details. This seems really similar to the last one, but a better picture of the house. All right, let's go November 13th. And then there's 14th. So maybe... Oh, they're beaten to death. So that says 2 elderly sisters found dead in their home during the weekend were beaten to death with a blunt instrument. Wow. I mean, it's just so brutal. The Attorney General's office said yesterday authorities would say little about the case other than they are pursuing it. Loretta Allen, 76, and Doris Bean, 81, were killed yesterday, and their bodies were found in the kitchen. I mean, wow, it's wild. In the kitchen, too, of the Cape Cod-style home they had shared for 50 years, authorities said. Right now, we are not ruling anything out, and we are currently investigating a number of leads, Assistant Attorney General John Stevens said Sunday. Allen's 1983 Pontiac Bonneville was found Sunday in... Let's see where that is. I mean, didn't they get anything out of the car? So their vehicle was found over here somewhere. And whose was that? It was... Allen's. So Loretta Allen's was found in there. What are you talking about, Liam? Just pay attention, man. Jesus. Let's see. Allen's 1983 Pontiac Bonneville was found Sunday in Nashua. Stephen said, or maybe just Nassau. I don't know if Nashuaw. Stephen said the car was being examined for fingerprints or other clues. For now, we are asking people in the area to just be careful, he said. We want to exercise extreme caution to lock their doors and not open their doors to strangers. It's in 1995. We've gone over this. Pat Francis, executive director of Nashua Senior Center, said her organization has been pursuing a program with police to show the elderly how to protect themselves, like with a gun. Megan Bradley, director of St. Joseph Community Service, which provides seniors with meals on wheels, said her organization talks to the elderly about safety. Let's see. I don't know. Police were called to the home Saturday afternoon after the relatives discovered the bodies. Police interviewed neighbors asking if they had seen any suspicious cars or strangers in the area. I hope it wasn't a violent death. I hope they went quickly, said neighbor Janice Teormina. Police came to our house and told us to be aware and cautious. They didn't give us any details, just that they were suspicious deaths. All right, let's go back over here. I don't know if this one's died of bludgeoning. It's like kind of the same. So let's move on, move forward. Sometimes they just die. There's no more anything. I mean, so there's nothing. Oh, so there was the 13th and 14th. You guys can see that on the screen, right? How it lights up in there. And then nothing else. But then in December, there's one on the 8th. So it's already dying down. Murdered woman's son speaks out. Despite his son's criticism, the police chief says investigators are doing a good job. Really? Yeah, you did great. Here, 31 years later. Loretta Allen's son has blasted state police for the department's handling of the case and has offered a $10,000 reward. Yeah, this is a cold case, Liam, if that's what you're asking. It's not solved. You know, I was watching last night the director's cut of Aliens, the movie. It's so different than the. I think they edited the final one better, you know, because it's all this sort of unnecessary stuff. It's like, really, you're the director? Jesus, not really that. Thanks, Wild Bill Wassman. This is an insult to the town that something like this could happen at 2:30 in the afternoon. So that's when it happened, midday. That somebody could go up Central Street in Hudson, New Hampshire, slaughter 2 defenseless women, and take their car out of the garage, pull out of the driveway, and drive down Central Street. Allen told the Telegraph from his home. I mean, that is true, right? Like, how the hell can you do that and just get away with it? Allen's 76-year-old mother, Loretta, and his 81-year-old aunt, Doris Bean, died November 9th. Loretta Allen, a widow, cared for Bean, who had been handicapped with arthritis. They had lived together at least 40 years. Attorney General Jeffrey Howard had said the killing did not appear to be a random act, but he stopped short of saying the women knew their killer or killers. Allen, 49, said he told state police he would put up a $5,000 reward after the murders, but they told him to hold off. He said he was bitter about how investigators turned the house upside down, dusting for fingerprints, for not keeping... He said he was bitter about how investigators turned the house upside down, dusting for fingerprints, for not keeping him informed, and for what he considered a lax investigation. Well, you mean maybe not should have been up there? I don't know. It's weird. I really believe the state police should pack up the crime unit and turn over the case to the Hudson Police Department. Hudson Police Chief Richard Gendron said Wednesday he understands Allen's frustration, but said state and Hudson Police are working hard to solve the case. Nobody wants to make a mistake. All right, let's see. So that was the 8th. Let's see if there's anything else. 8th, 9th, nothing. 10th, 11th. I mean, once you start having like a family member doing an article, I mean, that's it. And then 1996. All right. Looks like a few on this one. So let's go over here and just put January up here. January 1996. And there's nothing in January, but once you open that up, now you can see there's something in February, March, June, October, and November. So let's see what they had in February. Two arrests in beating death. Wow. 2 young men have been arrested in the deaths of 2 elderly sisters in their home in November, authorities said yesterday. Charles Dorval Jr., 21, of Nashua, was arrested Saturday and charged with first-degree murder. And Jerry Milder, 20, of the same address. Dorval was charged in the death of Loretta Ellen, 76, and Millard in the death of Doris Bean, 81. 76 and Millard. What does that mean? And Millard in the death. Oh, yeah, the other person. The women were bludgeoned to death on November 11th in the home they shared for 50 years. Their bodies were found in the kitchen by relatives. Millard was arrested at his residence, Dorval, at the Hillsborough County House of Corrections. All right, well, let's see what the hell they're on to here. So that was the 20th. Let's see if there's anything different. Had done chores for the victim. Oh, man, see, this now it is sort of like this could be similar, right? 2 childhood friends who had, but these guys never, obviously weren't convicted because this is a cold case. 2 childhood friends who had done yard work for 2 elderly, or I bet you they went to trial or something, or the charges were dropped because they didn't have enough evidence, but these people could be the suspects still, right? They had done yard work for 2 elderly sisters, were accused yesterday of their murder. So these people did yard work at their house. That's one of the theories in the Nancy Guthrie case, same thing. Nashua District Judge Bruce Larson set a March hearing for Charles Dorval Jr., 21, charged with murdering Loretta Allen, 76, and Jerry Miller. Assistant Attorney General John Stephen said that motivated the murders. Said theft motivated the murders. He said the two men had done landscape work for the women. State police arrested Dorval Saturday, and then that makes sense because you'd have to kill them because they knew who they were. See? He said the two men had done landscape work for the women. State police arrested Dorval Saturday in jail in Manchester. He had been held since December. Police had arrested him in December for disobeying a police officer. The sisters' bodies were found November 11th. Allen's car, stolen from the garage, was found less than a mile from the two men's home. Dorval and Millard grew up in the same neighborhood and went to school together. Stephen has said he believes the women were killed the day they were found. The two women had lived together for about 35 years. Now it went from 50 to 40 to 35. Allen, a widow, took care of Bean, who weighed 76 pounds and was crippled with arthritis. Could she have saved her own life? Probably not. Doris couldn't push a piece of paper off the table. Allen, in contrast, was 5'7", a strong, proud woman who worked for the New England Telephone Company while raising two children. I always said of her, if her whole house came tumbling down on her head, she would pick herself up, brush herself off, and start building again. Allen was 71 when Izzy finally convinced her not to climb up a ladder. Let's see. They really haven't told anybody exactly why they killed my mother and aunt, said Allen. It's never been explained to me. I don't know if we'll ever know why it came to the brutal bashing of them. So I wonder what happens here. That's February, then we go to March. Okay, so we got 30th and March 2nd. Let's go there first. Where bludgeoned indictment says. The count against Jerry Miller, 20, and Charles Duvall, 21, charged they conspired to burglarize the women's home with another person or persons. Asked whether more arrests are coming, Assistant Attorney General John Stevens said, "We are not ruling out anything." The Hillsborough County Supreme Court grand jury concluded, so the grand jury indicted these people, concluded Dorval should stand trial for causing the death of Loretta Allen by repeatedly beating her with blunt instruments. The jury brought out similar counts against Millard, charging he struck Bean with an iron trivet. And trivet and telephone. So he bashed her with, a telephone and then stabbed her with a knife. The trial jury would have the option of convicting them on either or both of the first-degree murder counts, Stephen said. Man, that's crazy. So it was like some iron trivet and telephone. She was bashed with those and then stabbed with a knife. All right, so that was the second, and then 28 days later, this one came in. Hold on, let me. And this one came in. Trial set. A tentative trial scheduled has been set for two Nassau men charged with beating two elderly sisters to death. Prosecutors say investigators continue to search for additional suspects. All right, so then we go here, and then we go all the way to June. Okay, and then this one has the 23rd first. Let's see. Freaks Disney reached the nightly goal. Oh, did we? Yeah, earlier we reached the... we barely right at the end. I had to... I mean, it was just crazy. I did a 8... If there was 8 donated memberships, I would donate 5. And then nobody did anything, so I was about to end the show. I was already on there for 2 hours, and then 2 people did 5, and then we did that. And that's just the minimum goal. The minimum goal is just sort of like, okay, we're at least doing something. But that's not what I try for. I hope to do better than that. Witness tampering. Oh boy. A Nassau man has been indicted for witness tampering in the murder case of 2 elderly Hudson sisters. The Hillsborough County Superior Court indicted 21-year-old Wayne Heineman for trying to coerce Eugene Emmons to withhold information. Investigators said Emmons had information that could help them prove their case against the 2 men accused of killing Loretta Allen, 76, and Doris Bean, 81, it should have said. If convicted, Heineman could face up to 7 years in prison. Jerry Miller, 20, is accused of killing Allen, and Charles Dorval, 21, is charged with murdering Bean. Wonder how they know, which one did what. And that's 23rd, and here's the 30th. Police use phone taps. Investigators use wiretaps and informants to get evidence against a man accused of the murders of 2 elderly... Wow, I bet this is going to end up being a constitutional thing. Yeah, how come nobody answered Wild Bill Wassman? Are you guys even here? Hello, everybody. Hello. Charles Dorval, 21, of Nassau, is charged with first-degree murder in the death of Loretta Allen, 76. Evidence against Dorval was discussed Friday during a hearing in Hillsborough County Superior Court. His lawyers, Kathy Green and Brian O'Connor, want transcripts and tape recordings of conversations involving any witnesses. They also sought and received information on the criminal records of various witnesses. A friend and co-worker of Noble, Jerry Miller, 20, also of Nassau, is charged with killing Allen's sister, Doris Bean, 81. The women were beaten to death in November, and obviously stabbed too, where Dorval and Miller did yard work for them. Prosecutors say Dorval and Miller killed the sisters while burglarizing their home. Dorval's trial is scheduled for November, but his lawyers said Friday they may seek to postpone it. The prosecutor, Janice Rundles, and John Stephen of the Attorney General's office had provided and agreed to provide much of the information, but disputed some requests. Judge Philip Holman wasn't expected to rule immediately. Well, I wonder what's going to happen. It sounds like these are probably the people that did it, but... all right, so this is October now. Murder suspects claim to have an alibi. Nassau man accused of murdering an elderly Hudson woman say he was somewhere else at the time. Lawyers for Charles Dorval, 21, filed notice this week. They'll use that defense at the trial. So all of a sudden they have an alibi months later. Dorval's lawyers also want the court to throw out incriminating statements he made to an informant in jail cell who was wearing a wire to record their conversations. The lawyers argue that the police ignored Dorval's assertion of his right to remain silent and consult a lawyer. Yeah, I bet you that's going to get him. The recordings took place while Dorval was in jail. Dorval claims he was working at a house in Nassau the afternoon of November 11th, 1995, when Loretta Allen, 76, and her sister Doris Bean were killed. Prosecutors say Dorval and Miller beat the woman to death. Now, the police have police know roughly when Allen and Bean were killed, according to court records. A witness saw Allen at Gagnon's furniture store in Nassau at about noon the day, according to the police. The bodies were found at 3:45 p.m. I don't know. Let's see. Now we're in November. I hope it doesn't say like all charges drop. Suspect in the theft of JFK bus already faces other. Let's see. What are you guys talking about? One of the men accused of helping steal a bronze bust of President Kennedy from outside City Hall was out of jail. Arrested were Wayne Heineman, 22, and William Moore. Haven't we seen that name already? Police said the theft apparently was just a prank. Moore was held on $5,000. Down here it says investigators last year murders of elderly. Oh, let's see. But the judge ordered Heineman held without bail for 72 hours when he learned that he had been charged with witness tampering and lying to. Okay, he's the one that was the witness tamperer. Shit. What the hell's going on? All right, now we got to go to 1997, I guess. Okay. Fight on to strike comments. The trial of 22-year-old Nassau man is in the deaths of two elderly sisters could hinge on whether a judge allows some of his statements to be presented. Lawyers finished their arguments Friday in a lengthy evidence hearing involving Charles Dorval. Dorval and a friend are charged with murdering Loretta. Yeah, I mean, just the murders. We've said their name 100 times already. Dorval's lawyers say the police may have threatened him and questioned him without warning him he had a right to remain silent. Okay. Is there anything else in this year? March. Judge allows jailhouse confession. Wow, that's in there. All right. I'm just going to go with the titles. So what happens in July? 18th, this must be when there's a trial going on. Jury deliberates. Oh boy. I think this is going to end up where they didn't get convicted, so it's just open because it didn't work. I think that's what's going to happen here. Let's see, the 18th. Dorval guilty of, wow, so he was guilty of murder charge. So what happened then? I mean, this is 1997, so that must have been overturned or something at some point. I bet you, let's see. Millard murder charge, what? Wait, hold on. Oh, so maybe, oh, okay, hold on a second. Millard murder charges drop. Okay, let's go to the other one before this. Nashua man accused of beating one of the elderly sisters to death was convicted yesterday of first. Charles Dorval, 22, was convicted by the Hillsborough County Superior Court jury. Of Loretta Allen. See, that's right. Okay, that's interesting. So Doris Bean is the only one that was listed in the, the website that I use called Faces of Unsolved, the Unsolved Homicide, Project Cold Case. So that means Charles was convicted of killing Allen, but the other guy wasn't convicted of killing Bean. How is that even possible? They're both there. I mean, shit, the other guy should get felony murder anyways, right? Like, why don't you have Charles Dorval be charged with felony murder? Because in the commission of the felony, felony murder is a new thing now. But that's crazy. Man, that sucks. So that's why Beans is still open. So right here it says, Millard murder charges dropped. The Attorney General's office has dropped first-degree murder charges against a man accused of killing one of two elderly sisters. Attorney General Philip McLaughlin said yesterday his office decided not to pursue murder charges against Jerry Millard, 21. I mean, it's so obvious, though. You're right there. Millard was indicted in 1996 in connection with the beating deaths of Loretta Allen, 76, and Doris Bean, 81. The sisters were, last month, Charles Dorval, 22, was convicted after 27 hours of deliberation over 5 days in Allen's death. He was found guilty of committing first-degree murder in the course of a felony. Oh, that is felony murder. Burglary, but was acquitted of premeditated murder. Millard, who was Dorval's housemate, had been charged with killing Bean. I don't get it. How could two people killed in the same house at the same time only have one? That's just dumb. That's ridiculous. Okay, what year is this one? 10 years after sister's murder, questions linger. Murderers aren't usually so lucky. At least 9 times out of 10, killers in New Hampshire get caught. That includes the careful, whatever the hell that means. When drugged out, thugs crash into a home and use their fists and household objects to bludgeon people to death. They tend to leave lots of evidence. Such was not the case 10 years ago in Hudson. 2 elderly sisters, Loretta Allen, 76, and Doris Bean, 81, were savagely beaten. Now there's an address. In their home at 163 Central Street on the afternoon of November 11, 1995. The state and Hudson police soon focused on a group of young men from Nassau, some of whom had done yard work for the sisters. They concluded that at least 3 of them were involved and that the suspect had killed Allen and Bean to get money to buy drugs. Charles Dorval Jr. and Jerry Millard were charged with killing Allen and Bean respectively, but only Dorval was tried. He is serving life in prison without a chance for parole. Prosecutors dropped the case against Millard shortly after Dorval was convicted. They said they lacked enough evidence to convict Millard. Man, why don't they cut the other guy a deal? You know, like I would actually go up to Dorval and go, listen, I'll tell you what, Dorval, we've got you life without parole. We're going to shift that down to parole after 35 years if you tell us what happened here and can provide us information. Because, I think it's worth it. That's crazy. You don't have anybody charged? That's stupid. Charles Dorval Jr., 31, has gained weight and he crops his hair shorter than he did 10 years ago. He still says he didn't kill Loretta Allen, though a jury heard the evidence and found him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Dorval spoke with a reporter last month at the state prison in Berlin before the trial in 1997. Dorval said prosecutors offered him a minimum sentence of 29 to 30 years if he would plead guilty and testify and testify against the others. He wishes now that he had taken them up on the deal. See, there you go. Isn't that wild? That's exactly what I just said. But why can't you make a deal after the fact with the prosecutor? State police investigators came to speak with Dorval not long after his sister's April died in 2002. Dorval said they wanted him to help, but they offered nothing in return, he said. They wanted to help me out with my case, he said. I tried to cooperate with them. They didn't bring no deals down on the table. Let's see down. Man, this is a long one. A few clues. The investigation began within hours of the murders. On November 11th, 1995, shortly before 4 p.m., Timothy Hudson, then 29, of Nassau, stopped by his grandmother's house at 163 Central Street with his wife and infant daughter. He told Loretta Allen he would help clear leaves from her gutters. He found Allen, 76, on the kitchen floor, and her invalid sister, Bean, 81, slumped in the chair nearby. The two women both sustained massive repeated blows to their heads and upper bodies, causing multiple fractures to their skull. I already did that. Skulls and elsewhere, a medical examiner later testified. Apparent murder weapons the police found at the scene included a brass table lamp, a cast iron trivet, a telephone handset, and a steel saucepan. The police combed the house for clues, but the killers had left almost nothing behind. The police only one set of footprints, bloodied tracks left by a pair of Nike driving Force 2 basketball sneakers, size ranging 9.5 to 10.5. A state police crime lab expert testified Dorval wore size 13. Millard wore size 9.5 shoes, according to evidence introduced in Dorval's trial. So do thousands of other local men. The next morning, the police found Allen's 1983 Pontiac Bonneville parked on Haynes Street in Nassau. The police stated by speaking with the victims. Let me just see where that is. Yeah, shit. Didn't they say Haynes Street? No, I spelled it wrong. No, so it was over there. Yeah, so it's over there. This article has a lot of information. The police stated by speaking with the victim's family, Allen's family told the police that she recently had complained that the fellows who raked her lawn wanted $300 for the job, $100 more than they charged the year before. The police tracked down the yard workers, Dorval and Millard, and came to suspect that they and their pals knew too much. Neither Dorval nor Millard gave the police a convincing alibi for the time during which Allen and Bean were killed between 1:15 and 3:55. Millard said he had been hanging around the area of the fairgrounds schools all day, drinking his way through a 12-pack of beer. Dorval said he had been working in a yard at 119 Amherst Street on this morning of the murders, but went home to 9 Lake Street early that afternoon. Let's see, 9 Lake Street. That must be where he lives. Dorval. Wow, look how close Dorval lives to where that vehicle was. Oops. All right, and what was the other one? He said he worked at 1119 Amherst Street. That's probably over by... Okay, that's different direction. Dorval claimed to do yard work. Anyways, that's going longer than I wanted to. Notice how there hasn't been like a super chat in the last 45 minutes. This is where it's like, man, I could be doing something else. Let's see. Neither Dorval nor Millard gave the police a convincing alibi. Yeah, we did that. Drank the 12-pack that afternoon and stayed there the rest of the day. He later admitted that he, Millard, and Kenneth Littlefield drove down to Lawrence, Massachusetts that morning to buy crack cocaine. At trial, Dorval's father and uncle both testified that Dorval had been working on Amherst Street all afternoon until darkness fell, leaving only once for a brief bathroom break. JLS. Dorval was convicted on the strength of his confession to Thomas Holliday, though he argued he was lying to Holliday too. The tape captured several hours of conversation between Dorval and Holliday, an inmate who agreed to wear a wire and share a cell with Dorval in the Hillsborough County Jail. The police had questioned Dorval many times, but they lacked evidence to charge him with the murders until February 16, 1996. Yeah. Anyways, I'm not going to go through all this, but yeah, it sucks. Man, that should have been. Let's see if it has anything way over here. Yeah, they quit talking about it after all those years. All right. Hey, are you on drugs, Liam? What does Boom Goes the Dynamite and all this other stuff that you just randomly type in have to do with anything? You're just sort of like verbally, like almost vomiting texting. Forget it. All right. Anyways, thanks for everybody watching. Thanks, Wild Bill Wassman, a couple times, and Jim Lawn during this. Thank you for being here. We'll see you tomorrow. And as I always say, until next time, be safe out there. Yeah, I've been doing this true crime thing for quite a while now. And during this whole time, I have not seen one person that is a crime dissector. Rejector, I'm a certified human lie detector. Gonna get ya on a stretcher if you try and play me like an old projector. Crime sector is my nectar. Professor Gray is gonna give another lecture. Crime collector, freak connector, and I'm always gonna be a pup protector. Fool deflector, interceptor, and I'm meaner than a spectre with a vector on his pector. With all respect, y'all. Just remember, I've a to fucking check ya. I have no agenda, I'm no pretender, and I'll serve it to you straight without the blender. And in the end, I'm gonna send ya on a mission to reveal the true offender. Yeah, so I'll just get right back to work. All right, everybody, talk to you later.